I'm addicted to the lifestyle and the money. I done made $500,000 in one day before. You're talking about so much weed and so many boxes. It fill up multiple garages and multiple houses. It's tons we talking about. Once the violence comes into play, it's only so long because your time is getting closer to the end. I was out of control. I was reckless.
My guest today is Eric G. Eric's got one of the most fascinating rags to riches drug trafficking stories I've heard in a long time. He grew up in Queens, New York in the late 1980s and started hustling crack at just 13 years old. He relocated to Atlanta, Georgia, where he switched his product to marijuana. And by the late 1990s, he was supplying every trap house in the Atlanta area. By the mid-2000s, he'd become one of the biggest weed dealers in the country. He connected himself with Mexican cartels and was moving thousands of pounds a week in semi-trucks going to his distributors all over the United States. He was even summoned down to Guadalajara to shake hands with the bosses and see the vast weed fields where his product was being grown. Not many young black men from Queens, New York can say they accomplished that. Eric did 7 years in prison, got out, and is now an advocate for sensible drug policy and is a brand ambassador for legal cannabis companies. Make sure to check him out on social media. All of those links will be in the description of this episode. I love this one, you guys, and you will too. Eric G, right here on The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
So you're a man of the world, though, which is cool. This is
I've been in 43 countries since I've been home.
I love talking to, and even when you were out in the streets, I don't really like to call it in the streets. You were, you had a lot of workers in the streets, but you were a man that got around.
I did, and I loved it.
That's, I think, a thing about Haitian Americans or Jamaican Americans.
Haitian Americans, you got it right.
Right, you're Haitian. They tend to be, I think they tend to do better. This may not go in the podcast.
And New Yorkers.
New Yorkers, exactly, because they're just so, you grow up surrounded by so many cultures that it really makes you a person of the world, even as a young person.
Facts.
You know what I mean? It makes you cultured.
That's right.
Which is such a gift.
Right.
You know? What was your family like in Haiti?
Well, I didn't grow up in Haiti. As a matter of fact, so I grew up, in Bayside, Queens.
Yeah.
My father came to New York, to the United States and the rest of his family when he was 14 years old. And but I did take my whole family to Haiti in 2017 because the older Haitians are always like, no, it's too dangerous. We can't go. I'm like, but Dad, I want to see my roots.
Yeah.
So in 2017, I went to Haiti. I saw the good, bad, and the ugly. And there was a lot of good and a lot of bad, and there was a lot of ugly.
I think now it's pretty much all ugly, dude.
Yeah, it is.
That guy Barbecue, his name's Barbecue.
Barbecue, yeah. They say he barbecue his victims before he eat them.
Yeah, I don't know about that cannibalism thing. I don't think that's real. I think that's kind of
I don't
a
know
myth.
if it's real or not.
But he definitely tortures people.
Yeah, right. That's just what I've heard. So I can't confirm nor deny that. So I want to be clear on that.
God damn it, dude. They're the only successful slave rebellion, and they're paying for it still.
Right. And you know about that.
Yeah, as the most up country, I think, in the whole world or the Western Hemisphere.
They're definitely the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
And I got a problem with it. I'm glad you brought that up, but that needs to be spoken about because, listen, France, United States has been long enough. Help the Haitian people out. They still got their foot on their neck. They made them pay reparations.
Right, I know, for winning their freedom. But my question, if you won your freedom violently, can't you be like, suck my dick, I'm not paying you reparations?
Yeah, but they didn't want them Navy ships to show up on the shore.
Yeah.
So it's up. Then the United States came in and stole a lot of the gold and, all of the bullshit that goes on. We don't have to get into that, but maybe we could do another episode on it. It's unfair and it's not right. The Haitian people are good, so, help them out.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so tell us, thank you for being here. Tell us about childhood. Where are you from? How'd you grow up?
Well, number one, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Bayside, Queens, New York. They say Queens is where the Kings is born. I grew up with a good family. I actually grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness. She raised me as a Jehovah's Witness. So I had the proper morals, but we were not dirt poor, but we were the furthest thing from rich that you can imagine. We grew up with one car. My father worked. My mother was a housewife. We didn't have a lot of money, but we did have what we need. So I didn't go hungry. But we didn't have, we weren't balling. I mean, I guess they called us middle class, but I guess we were middle class for a black family.
Bayside, Queens is like a working class suburb.
Yes.
Isn't that a fair characteristic?
100%. Yes. We had a backyard, small, and we had a front yard.
Yeah.
And I knew people from, my cousin used to work at UPS, and he knew people that he worked with in Manhattan. And when they found out he lived in Queens, because he lived in Cambria Heights, they thought he was rich because he had a backyard. So yeah, it's popular. This was back in 1986.
Right. Yeah. So you grew up as a kid in the 80s.
Yes.
In this section of Queens, which was dominated by the Supreme Team. Right.
The Supreme Team, the Cawley brothers, Fat Cat, and all of that. Yeah, they were in South Jamaica, and they carved up the projects. Is basically what they did, in all of the housing apartments and stuff like that, which was 40 projects and Baisley projects, and over there in Rochdale and all of that. Yeah, that's what they had.
Yeah. So even though there's projects, and then there's like suburban single-family homes with lawns, so it's this strange dichotomy. But you guys were doing urban gangster shit that you see in the Bronx, but
no question about it.
In the suburbs.
No question.
That's what makes Queens a little different.
That's right.
Hey guys, do me a quick favor. Subscribe to the channel, drop us a like and a comment, and turn on notifications so you get alerted whenever we drop new content. Enjoy this episode with Eric G.
Okay, so then when did you start to get influenced by that? When did you realize what these people were doing?
Well, listen, maybe I said this when we were speaking off camera. But so the neighborhood that we lived in, it was working class. And when blacks had, a little bit of, decent amount of money, if they was from different places, sometimes it might have been wherever, the Bronx, Manhattan, Brooklyn. A lot of times they would move out to Queens because you're able to buy a house out there. Like you said, working class, suburbia. And so we were blacks that lived there right in the middle. Any direction we went in too far, there was either Italians or Jews, Asians. I've been chased before by Italians. So there was racism that was right there. But we had a heavy influence of different people in our community when I was very young. Maybe they was 18, maybe I was 13. And it was like that. So they might have been from Brooklyn or wherever. And this is the age of the crack epidemic. So, they brought the crack hits the streets. So as a youngster, you had a very, very strong influence because you still got to walk to school. You can have as good an influence as you want. You still got to go to school. You still got to walk there. You got to walk home. And in many instances, the people, the friends, the influences in your neighborhood around you at that age, they spend more time with you than your family. So, you got to think about that.
So when did you get on? When did you first try your hand?
13. I had a lot of influences, like I said, not only the kids in the neighborhood, but I had people that was associated with those South Jamaica crews that were literally in my family through marriage. And so one of the things that we had was, and these brothers that I'm talking about, that were my uncles, through marriage, the Cawley brothers is who it was, they used to give us a lot of clothes, so we were shining. Even though my parents couldn't buy those clothes, they'd give us trash bags full of clothes, sneakers, because, in New York back at that time, when you're making money, you'd only wear something once, especially sneakers, and you had to have a new outfit every single day. And these dudes they were millionaires at a young age.
Yeah.
They were running South Jamaica. And, so I saw those influences too. They used to throw parties where they'd have Curtis Blow and different people that they would pay to be at their birthday parties. So this was an enormous, enormous influence on me. And, I was always influenced by money as a kid. When I was 5 years old and I would get money for my birthday, this was before, my mother became a Jehovah Witness. So we still had birthday parties that I can remember. Even if I got $5, because I got $1 for every age, I would save that. I wouldn't want to touch it. I would save it. I wanted to make more money, and so that's when it happened. I got influenced by somebody in the neighborhood, and at 13 years old, they would give the youngsters in the neighborhood, they would give them the pack, and they would let them distribute it out to other kids, because at that time, you couldn't be charged as an adult. So if you just get charged as a juvenile, so that's when it started happening. And since a young age, I always loved my money. I was always able to save it. So I was like a young lieutenant at a young age. So there was 3 of us in our crew. There was more of us that was selling, but there was maybe there was 5 of us in our crew. There was a whole lot more kids. But the kids that I would pass the packs out to, so there was a 60-40 where the dealer would get 60% and everybody else got 40, I got 50-50. Because they would give me the whole bomb and then I would distribute it out to everyone else and then still keep my same pack. And that's how we did it. And one of the ways I was able to elude, getting pulled over by DTs, dicks is what they call them, is because I would walk to the Kingdom Hall. That's what if you're a Jehovah's Witness, I used to go on field service. I had a briefcase with the watchtowers and with the Bible in it. And on the way there, either on the way there or on the way home, I would stop in my drug dealer's house, briefcase, suited and booted, and then he would load me up. I'd have it in the briefcase. So while I'm walking home, if the cops happen to pass me, I make sure nobody's coming down the block. I'm running to his house, he'd load me up. Now I'm walking home. So if the cops run down the street, they're not gonna pull me over. They're not gonna do none of that because of the fact I'm suited. I got the briefcase. They know I'm a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah. And you got a G pack and how much did they give you at a time?
Well, they would give me like 1,000 vials back then. You know, they would give it to us for 10. We sell them for 20 jumbos. You know, we could double up. So they would give me 1,000, they basically give me 1,000, and I would give 3 other people 250, and then I keep 250.
Once at 13, you even had workers.
I had workers. Well, okay, let me correct that. Yes and no. I didn't really have workers. Kind of I did. I kind of organized them, but, you know, we were all working for the same dude.
Yeah.
You know, so he gave it to me. I distributed it out. So, yeah, they was kind of workers, but I didn't have direct control over them. Like, if they didn't pay the money, he was going to deal with them. Didn't matter if you was a kid back then. They just get other kids your age to beat your ass.
Yeah.
You know, you were turning in that money. I mean, that's one thing about New York back those days. They didn't want really on no gang time, like on the West Coast, but they was in the neighborhood time and everything was sectioned up. You know, and that was different from like when I went to the South. I noticed it was kind of a totally different thing. There wasn't no freestyling in New York. You was either working for somebody in that neighborhood or you wasn't working at all. There wasn't no bringing cracks in from Brooklyn to Queens. Nah, that didn't happen.
They would run you off? Or?
Nah, they're going to take your money. They're going to shut you down. They're going to rob you.
Yeah.
They're going to beat your ass and you're going to be working for them. There wasn't no free balling at no age. Wow. You was either from that neighborhood and you was aligned with the people that was running that neighborhood or you wasn't selling drugs. That was it.
Yeah. Wow.
End of story.
Yeah. Yeah, and those dudes were murderers too.
They didn't play. Yeah, there were several dudes. I ain't gonna talk no names. Some of them is dead, but there was several dudes in that. And it's funny that you bring that up. As a matter of fact, there were several dudes that was dropping bodies, and at a very young age. You know, listen. This is the first interview that I'm doing. I've been home for some years, just as long as you've been home, and I never really did an interview. I never told my story because I just didn't believe in that. You know, I just didn't believe in being in front of a camera, social media, and all that stuff. But, you know, I decided, listen, it's, you know, now it's time to tell the story. So when I was 13 years old, me being like the forefront of the young kids, I just always had a different aura about me. I was a leader at a young age. And I didn't play with the money. I was always, you know, I turned it in. They used to say I was the number one salesman. I get rid of that pack fast. And so somebody, my dealer, he really actually tried to get me to murder somebody at a very young age. And so I told you that conflict was there.
Yeah. Not
just me, but me and my boys. And he had the whole plan. And he wanted me to kill one of his rival drug dealers who was in Flushing. And like I said, I ain't gonna say the name, but he had the whole story. He was gonna give us the gun, and he was telling us how we can do it, and he was telling me, we could just hit him. But I had a moral compass because of the way that I was raised. And he was saying he was gonna give us some like 5,000 or 10,000. I don't remember the exact number because I really haven't even told the story. So I long forgot it until you just said something that just sparked it in me. And this cat who did that, he's actually dead right now. And he had murdered some other people before he went to prison, but then he got murdered in prison. He wanted me to kill somebody, me and my 2 dudes, but ultimately we said no. But, you know, the thought was there, but the moral compass was there. Like, man, this dude crazy. What you talking about? But he was like, yeah, y'all can do it. Y'all can get away with it. You're minors, juveniles. Yeah. That's what he wanted us to do. That was the type of manipulation sometimes that older dudes would have on the neighborhood, on the younger dudes.
Well, I mean, it was all manipulation. If you have 13-year-olds, 13, dude, you barely got pubic hair and you're selling crack to adults in the neighborhood.
It's crazy as hell because
crazy to think about.
And I thought about that, and it's frightening. And when I really started thinking about it is when I started having children. And you know, you look at them, they're all young adults now. But when you look at them and you look at your child at 13 years old, when you really start thinking about that, and you like, you know they still kids at 13. And you think about, I thought about the shit I was doing at 13, and it scares you. And it's frightening, even to this day when I think about it.
So they were giving you 1,000 packs, 1,000 vials at a time. How much did you save? Like, you saved all your money. How much did you actually make?
Yo, back then, I mean, I made money and I saved my money, but I was spending a lot too by the time I got to like 14 years old. I was a freshman. I was going to John Brown High School. And I was in the 9th grade. I was a freshman. I used to have a girlfriend. She was 16. So I was a freshman. She was like a senior, but I had money. I sent her back and forth to school every day in a town car is what they call it. I would go back and forth in a town car. So, you know, we was blowing money fast at a young age. So I can't really say like at that age, like I actually accumulated anything of consequence. Yeah. You know, maybe I might have made, you know, whatever I made in a week's time.
But you had thousands of dollars you were making
Absolutely.
Every week.
Absolutely.
Holy.
And it blew my mind because I didn't know exactly how much my father was making, but I knew I was probably making more money than my father.
Yeah.
And that's just a crazy thing. Like the more and more you think about it, when you look back, And you say like kids, and this was happening all over. This wasn't just me. This was the era of anyone that's that young selling crack. And most of the time, they're making more money than their parents might make in a year, and they might be making that in a few months. So it's not a good influence.
How, and you left New York. Your family got you out of there.
I left New York. My family got me out of there. You know, I started dabbling in the weed because the crack, the hard, it felt kind of nasty. I had a moral conflict. You know, I seen grown men get their ass beat for owing money if they didn't turn in the pack, like I told you. You know, I wasn't a violent person, but the people that I got my pack from, they were violent and they were very violent. And they were not passive aggressive, they was aggressive. So like I had gotten robbed before. I never forget his name. His name was Disco Dave. And he robbed us before. He tricked me. And he might have just robbed me for like $40 worth of cracks or whatever the hell it was. He used to wear a trench coat. He was real tall. He was a grown man. You know, at that, you know, I'm 13 or 14. I don't remember his age, but Disco Dave, he was a crackhead. He might have been 40 years old, but they stripped this dude naked, beat this dude's ass, whooped him. You know, they probably beat him unconscious. I mean, they just didn't play that to make an example.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna take from them. Yeah. So that only had to happen 1 or 2 times, because if you ain't gonna take advantage of us just because we 13. Now, sometimes crackheads did, because, you know, if you a bad enough crackhead, it don't really matter. You're not really thinking right. You know, I done seen women, you know, suck and do all type of craziness. They sucking the of a 13-year-old and they grown women, or maybe they was 18, 25, I don't really know, but they were beautiful and they were fine and they were getting turned out at a young age. And this is what crack did. So, you know, this is something I'm not proud of, but at the same time, I was a 13-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid. I stopped selling crack when I left New York. You know what I mean? I might have dabbled once or twice when I got into Atlanta, but really, weed became my game. And, you know, so when I left New York, I basically left the crack alone, with the exception of a time here or there where I had my younger cousin bring like half a brick, you know, on the bus and on the train, on Amtrak down there, because I got my entrepreneurial mind going, and I'm in this New York state of mind. I'm still like a young man, even though I'm a young boy. I'm in Atlanta. So when you from New York, you really thinking like you advanced, and you pass everybody else. Back then, and listen, I love Atlanta. Don't get it twisted, and I'm happy I moved because, you know, you get a chance to understand that people are people. You ain't really more fast or more advanced than anyone else. We might have been a little more advanced back then because New York was the melting pot.
No, New Yorkers still to this day think they're better than everybody.
They think they're better.
And that's okay. I appreciate that. And I kind of agree with it.
It's all life is based on exposure. So we was exposed to more things at that age than most. Like the facts of the matter is you as the melting pot, so you see different things, different fashions, different things all over at a younger age, and faster than music and everything. But as I got older, and as I'm sure you saw the same thing, you ain't really smarter than no one else. You might have access at that younger age, you know, especially back then before the age of internet and before music was all over and hip hop on a worldwide stage. But people are people wherever they are. You ain't really harder. You might have thought you was, or at least I thought I was. We thought we was more advanced. They didn't even know where Atlanta was. They was like, where the moving? When I'd come back, they'd be like, oh, where was you? North Carolina, South Carolina? I'm like, no, Georgia, Atlanta. But we thought we was better. That's true at that time. Then you realize that people are people, and people might just have different accents or a different way of doing things. Just because someone is talking slow or talking different, they not necessarily different. You still get your wig pushed back. In the South, a lot of dudes came to Atlanta thinking that they could take over, and they ended up dead and stinking in a garbage can or in a trash can. So I understand that aspect of it too.
So then in high school, you were selling weed in Atlanta?
I was selling weed in high school.
Okay.
Yes, I was. I started selling weed in high school, and you know, there was a girl in our high school, and she used to steal weed from her father or get it from her father, and he used to grow back then. And I went to Thurl High, Southwest Atlanta, the SWAT. So, you know, anybody from the SWATs or Southwest, they know Thurl High in that age. You know, I graduated in '91, class of '91. But yeah, so I was selling for this girl. I was getting from her whatever little money I can get. We had all type of different hustles. I was in the magnet program for law and government. So remember, I'm from a good family. I'm a smart kid. But I used to smoke weed every day. Shout out to Snoop Dogg because, you know, smoke weed every day. So I used to smoke weed every day, but I still would go to school and I get good grades, and I was still selling my weed on the side. So I got a little hustle money because we got tokens to ride MARTA. So we would get tokens to ride MARTA because we was in the magnet program, so we was out of the district, so we get a certain amount of tokens. But in the magnet program, I knew that these tokens existed. So me and my man, which his father was actually the magnet center coordinator, we would steal these tokens, and then we would go to the MARTA station and we would sell them to people. So we'd have like, you know, however many tokens, 500 tokens, 1,000 tokens, and we'd be able to sell them for money. We ended up getting caught and getting arrested for that, but that was one of those small things. You do
one of those cases.
You got thrown out a little diversion program.
Yeah, so you were a good student, good Haitian roots, but you got New York, Queens, drug dealing in your blood now
It's in my
as
blood.
well. So this is a good combination. This is a winning combination for drug dealing success.
It's powerful.
Yeah. So you went to college. You went to Emory.
I went to Oxford of Emory. That's right.
And that's a good school.
They call it the Harvard of the South.
Harvard of the South. That's it, man. What do they call it? The all black. What do they call it? God,
No, it's not all black now.
No.
Okay.
HBCU.
Yeah, that's historically black.
It's like a top HBCU.
No, not Emory University.
Oh, Emory's
No,
not
Emory
a part of the
University is
HBCU.
not HBCU.
Okay.
It's really a very small percentage of black people. But they're number one. They're like number 3 or 4 in endowments to this day. They call it the Harvard of the South. They have a law school, and Emory is Emory.
Wow.
They have the Jimmy Carter Research Foundation. They have a law school, medical school, the medical hospital. Emory is also one of the number 1 hospitals in Georgia.
Wow. So they up letting you in.
Yeah, they up kind of let me in, but they wanted me because they had the largest debate program in the country, and I was a master debater in high school. Right. I went to an all-black high school, Thurl High School, all black, literally all black, and I was also on that mock trial team, and I was good at what I did. So my grades was good, not A1, but decent. I got into trouble in school often, but I was also a master debater and on the mock trial team, which is a program for young lawyers.
Yeah.
So they recruited me because they had the largest debate team in the country, but they did not have enough people that looked like me. Yeah. So they wanted me to come there. They recruited me, and that's how I ended up at high school at Emory. Not because of my grades. My grades was decent enough. Yeah. But these awesome universities always have a program where they can let someone in, especially a minority, that may not have the grades, but I brought something to the table.
Sure.
And one of the things that I learned back then is those major schools, academic schools, that don't have a major academic sports program like Emory University, they recruited and spent more money on recruitment back then, I don't know if it's now, on debate than on sports.
Yeah.
Future lawyers, future politicians, judges, lawyers, most of them went on the debate team at some capacity when they were in high school and probably college.
For sure. Man, I can tell just by talking to you for 20 minutes, you're a good debater, good lawyer, but you love drugs. You love making money. So just like me, that's just kind of where in college, this is where your business expands.
That's right. Yeah, it did because so I went to Oxford and I was around. It opened up my mind. It's funny because I got a podcast also, and I was interviewing someone the other day on the In and Out podcast, and so he's a very successful guy. He did a little bit of time. He's from New Orleans, but he was telling me, and I agree with it. I just hadn't heard it put that way before. Like when you stretch your mind based on what you've been exposed to, it can never go back. Mm-hmm. So my mind was stretched when I went to Oxford because I was around people that was. I had never been around people like personally that had that type of money. So there was one particular person, like I said, there was rich white boys, there was rich Koreans, there was rich blacks. Small percentage of blacks, don't get me wrong, very, very small. Like only one rich black that I knew. He was from Africa, from Benin, and his father was a king, so that made him a prince. But, so there was this rich Korean dude, and he was so rich, his father used to own an airport and an insurance company. And when I knew how rich he was when he got caught. He got caught. Now, anybody else, if it was me that got caught doing this, I'd have been kicked out of school, no question. He got caught cheating, which in those high class schools, high dollar schools, they'll kick you out.
Of course.
So he got caught cheating by copying off of someone else, and he was drunk from the day before. He wrote not his name, their name on his paper because he was copying the whole thing. They let him copy. Then when we was all drunk later on, he was saying, my grandfather or my dad is so rich that we give them so much endowments, I could do anything. So his father gave him a bunch of money. He didn't get kicked out.
That's right. But he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. And that kind of like just started making me understand wealth. He had a Mercedes-Benz. He got $10,000 a quarter that he got from his parents just to be there. I used to drive his. So they had, different fraternities and this and that. We was part of one called TL, Triangular L. And then there was like other frats and stuff that was on campus. All of them smoked weed. We smoked weed. Everybody smoked weed. I became the black guy that was supplying the weed. We were about an hour outside, maybe 45 minutes outside of Atlanta, original birthplace of Emory University. It's called Oxford. And it was 45 minutes outside in Oxford, Covington, Georgia, Newton County. So I would drive back to Atlanta all the time in the West End. I'd get from the Jamaicans, I'd get the weed, which back then it was, quarter pound. Well, what happened is I was just smoking weed with them. And it was blown away because I had the best weed. So they started giving me their money to go buy weed, and then I'd come back, I'd get it for one price.
So you had a Jamaican connect out in the sticks.
Well, in Atlanta.
Okay, I see.
So it was only 45 minutes away. Started, I had my little Volkswagen Bug. I just bought weed a couple times for everybody to smoke. They all loved it. We were smoking. It was crazy. So then they started giving me the money for me to go get the weed. Then I realized whatever I'm buying it for, I can come back and sell it for twice as much.
Charge it up, of course.
Then I started telling him I need your car. So I take his car. I'm in Atlanta all day in a Benz. I had never drove a Benz. I'm driving around in a Benz all day. I'm taking all day. They're getting scared. I come back. When I came back, the car was intact. They're not scared anymore. I got the weed. I started supplying the frat brothers and everybody on the campus.
There's always one of you on every campus. There's the guy that goes to the big city, gets the wholesale price, then comes back to the little town where the college is at and just kills them.
It was me.
Okay, cool. How'd you meet the Jamaicans?
The Jamaicans I just met because I was just buying weed. Like, I don't really remember where, how I got turned onto the spot, but they called it the gates, where they would have a huge steel door and just the thing would open up New York style or Brooklyn style.
Herb gates.
Herb gates.
Yep.
They had the herb gates in the West End. The West End is where you're talking about. And they was probably situated there because that was low income black neighborhood, but that was right smack dab in the middle of where the HBCUs was. Morehouse, Spelman, Morris Brown, and Clark Atlanta University.
Okay. Got it.
And so, I just formed a relationship then, and I'm coming with more and more money. So they give me better and better deals. And, I went from an ounce to a quarter pound to pounds, and that's what I was doing. And then when I'm supplying them at this small school, then no fraternity brothers is buying from me. And now they selling to everybody, but then they also selling to the fraternity brothers at the main campus of Emory, which was in Atlanta, well, actually in Decatur.
Wow. So how you're growing this business and the Jamaicans are giving you love, and you find out later on their weed is actually coming from Mexico.
Okay. Yes.
What kind of weed was it at this time in the late 80s, early 90s?
Listen, at that time, I believe it was probably actually coming from Jamaica. This is when they were still bringing it in from Kingston. It was probably coming from Miami because you had the Jamaican boys, Shower Posse, and all of that. But there's another little jump, another little step when I got my real connect. And shout out to him. Shout out to, I don't want to say his name because who knows what he's still doing. But I ended up meeting my Jamaican buddy from Kingston 1, Port Royal. They call that home of the pirates. So he really put me on in a whole nother level. So during this time, I'm going to school, but not really. So I ended up I never finished school back then because I'm doing too much, having too much fun, making too much money. I ended up getting an off-campus house in Little 5 Points. This is when we coming up with honestly, this is where I started. So I was friends with Lil Jon and those guys that started Black Market Entertainment. We actually started that together.
Oh, so you knew them from college?
I didn't know, they were not in college, but I just knew them from being in Atlanta.
Right.
And when we ended up, so Lil Jon he used to have a little saying, he would call me, because I was influenced from being in New York, so I was influenced by John Gotti. So I always had it in my mind, like, I'm gonna, anything I do on the week, I'm gonna bring it to the next level. Yeah. So remember, I hooked up with my other dudes, so I'm really just going to another level. They didn't sell weed or anything like that, but Lil Jon was a big DJ. So when Lil Jon was a big DJ, a lot of times he wasn't getting the money he was supposed to be getting. So Lil Jon would do parties and he would cater to different crowds like nobody else did. Like he was him for real back then on the DJ level. Right. He was DJing at radio stations, W9, WRFG 89.3, and he was rocking with me all the time and he was doing these big parties. They were called Lil Jon OE and Fried Chicken Fest. He would do them on Auburn Avenue, and he would do these reggae parties with it. So the Jamaicans loved him because he was the best reggae DJ. He was the best hip hop DJ. He was the best DJ. So a lot of times he wasn't really getting the proper money, and I was like, nah, f that. We gonna get you. I mean, ain't no you doing a party and not getting paid at the end. Mm-hmm. So then I came in, and then we ended up doing Big E is what they call me, and Lil Jon, Free OE. And Fried Chicken Fest. So we did that a couple of times, and then we wanted to make it on a more like legal level. So then we started playing around. It was me, Lil Jon, Vince, shout out to Vince Phillips. It was Rob McDowell, Cersei, and it was me. And we came up with this name, partly because, we all like, I was in the black market, not them. Mm-hmm. But, they saw the bigger vision, which, shame on me because I didn't really see it. They saw the bigger vision. So we started BME, Black Market Entertainment. Wow. He would always say, "You're Lil Jon Gotti. You're a shot caller." Back then, and we were really good friends. And I had the DJ equipment at one point in time at my house. He probably had his own too, but I had mine in my house. And we would all stay together sometimes over there, and we was making it happen. Make a long story short story. My cousin ended up getting shot because of the foolishness that I was in. Somebody got jealous of me. As a matter of fact, I skipped that because sometimes you just jump around. There was another dude that I was rocking with before I got my major connect. I was rocking with him. Then when I met my dude, who I tell you about, the Jamaican, I stopped rocking with him, so he tried to send a hit on me. So me and my cousin, we had another place. We had multiple places. My cousin ended up getting shot. It came from me. They put a hit on me. The dude was from New Orleans. I ain't gonna say his name neither. Probably still out there. Or maybe not.
So he tried to have you hit because you weren't buying from him anymore?
Because I stopped buying from him.
Wow. Just jealousy, man.
Jealousy.
Wow.
So he tried to have me hit. My cousin ended up getting shot. I kind of not really spooked. I'm at this age, it's up. I'm a little nervous because I don't know where the hit comes from at first, but I put it together. But I'm still in this New York state of mind, like 18, 19 years old. So I shoot to New York for like 3 months, right before we were supposed to get all the contracts signed. So at this point in time, and this story's it's never been told before. So, but they'll verify it. We still all good friends to this day. You can ask any one of them. So at this point in time, I go to New York. These dudes, they do all that paperwork. They can't get in contact with me because I'm thinking, I'm gonna go to New York, I'm gonna regroup, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna knock this dude's head off that put that hit on me. So I go to New York, I'm gone for like 3 months. Me, like a fool, I don't contact nobody in my mind, I'm on the low. I come back, they started working for Jermaine Dupri. They become the promotion team, street team for Jermaine Dupri, and Lil Jon becomes A&R. I come back, there was no love lost. They run into me, we're back. These dudes just rocking, they blowing up on the street, they doing the warehouse and all of that, but I was out at that point.
Right. So you were just fully off into the drugs. Like,
there you go.
So do you think if you would have stayed put and been part of the founding of Black Market Entertainment, but like actually stayed with them, do you think you would have put the drug dealing aside and just given everything to this music business?
I struggle with that every day. I like to think I would. But, you know, they didn't blow up with the money right away. So probably I would have been with them. I mean, it could have went either way because I probably would have been making the money. But then at some point, if they blew up, probably I would have just said, let me walk away. But the money and the lifestyle is addictive. So at this point in time, even though they attached to So Def and they're able to get the whole parties and they blowing and doing all this, the cash wasn't really there. I'm still making money, hand over fist. And it's a lifestyle that I was addicted to. So in my mind, I'm the rapper, but I'm not a rapper. But you know, we talking early '90s. Right. You know, I'm making money. I'm blowing money fast for real. I'm making.
Well, Lil Jon, he blew up. We first heard of him in like 2006. So yeah, he probably wasn't making real money for at least 12, 14 years after he first started the label. So yeah. You probably would have been in the street and then had one foot in the company and, you know, who knows what would have happened.
Shit happens.
Okay, so you're back. The music that's already gone. So you meet this big connect, this Jamaican dude. Tell us how it worked and how you grew and developed with them.
So he starts giving me the weed on a whole nother level. He's giving it to me. I got my own money. I'm buying some, whatever it was, a few pounds. He's giving me more money than I can handle. I mean, more weed than I can handle. So I'm getting, now we're in Southwest Atlanta. I'm older now, you know, still in my young 20s, maybe 20, 21, somewhere around there. I lose track of exactly how old I was, but he gave me weed, and I know it's coming from Cali at this point. But he is still getting it from other Jamaicans, but I started monopolizing, taking over different houses and renting them where we were in Southwest Atlanta. We were off of Campbellton Road. We were between Venetian and Avon on Elizabeth Avenue. I control that block, you know? So I got houses all over. I got 3 houses on that block. One where they doing like smaller things, ounces, because I'm still a distributor. So I'm doing ounces and quarter pounds, and there was another house where they come and get the pounds, and then another house, which was a safe house. My family had 2 of them, and then we rented another one. When I say my family, they own them, so I'm renting from my family, but I'm able to pay rent, like my uncle or whatever. Grandmother owned it, died, my uncle owned it, we renting them. So that's going on there. Then we got different spots all over, you know. Then I got older brother and cousins and stuff that was still in New York. I tell them, yo, I'm making money. Y'all need to move down here. So they moved down, so now it's becoming like a family thing. So really, you know, a lot of things, it just is what it is. All the shit always flowed around me because I always had like an entrepreneurial mind. So I'm going with the connect. My dude is getting more and more and more. They getting it in from Cali. Back then, they getting it in, they bringing it in luggage on the plane. This is before the Unabomber. This is at a time when you can go, and you probably know about this, you can get on a plane and you can have a female ticket. It didn't matter. They weren't looking for ID or anything. You just had to have the ticket. This is before the Unabomber. This is before Oklahoma City building. This is before all of that. So they bringing it in on a plane.
Wow.
You know, and
weed and luggage on a plane's insane.
That's how they doing it. They bringing it. He giving it to me. I'm moving so much weed. I'm going faster and faster. He blowing because he giving it all to me. I'm making it disappear. Now I'm down with the Jamaican boys.
Right.
So
what are they giving you? What are they giving you at a time?
Man, back then it was probably 10 to 20 to 30 to 40. Now I'm getting 50 pounds a week. We going through it. I'm supplying more and more people finding out. So I got these gates built at each one of the houses too. So there's like a vestibule, if you know what that is.
Yeah,
so it's
foyer.
It's a foyer. So between the door that they enter and then the door that I'm at, it's a steel door, solid steel. So they got to come in. They're in the vestibule now. I don't let them in. So they come around. We got a wooden gate, privacy gate. I'm spending all this money to have all this. I'm forming the gates that I used to go to, and the weed gate. So I got all this for protection. We got the guns in the house, and so they have to come through. And I don't let them in where I am, and we buzz them in. Then they in there. They in this foyer with 2 steel doors, but they locked in. They can't do nothing. So you can't rob me because it's just a thing, a slot, almost like when the prison thing that I could put the pounds through. Because remember, I operated the one where the weight was at.
So you would serve wholesale that way too?
I'm serving wholesale that way too. It don't matter how bad they wanted to get in there. I wouldn't let them in. I know robberies go down too. Even though we in there, we got the guns. It's a big enough slot where you could put, dudes wasn't getting 100, 200 pounds from me back then, but they might have got 5 pounds. They might have got 3 pounds. We had the streets on fire. I mean, we got them coming from all over Georgia, all over Atlanta. Dudes is coming from the West End, everything. Remember, I got the outlet, but I got these dudes giving me they giving me the work. Now, what I come to find out as I got deep into it, they love me. I damn near thought I was Jamaican. I'm eating with them every day. They knew how to cook. I didn't cook. But Jamaican men grow up knowing how to do, they were Rasta. So they got to know how to cook because when the female's on her period, she can't cook for them. This is real. She can't cook. If you're a Rasta, you don't have a woman cook for you if she's on her period. So all Rasta men are real Rasta. They grow up and they know how to cook. So that reminded me of my Haitian food. So that's why I can get my beans and rice, my curry chicken, my brown stew chicken, my brown stew fish. So my man, he eat fresh food, fresh fish every day. So we smoke weed and we listen to reggae music. I even started thinking I had the accent. I'm thinking I'm full-blown Jamaican. We walk around with guns and everything in our waist. That's how we moving.
Yeah.
But they got people over, so the way they do it, they come over, they making mad money. So they got some of the people in Cali that's sending it, but then they got other people back in Jamaica. And the people in Jamaica want to know who this dude E. My dude, Kid, I'll just say his name, you don't care. It was back then. Kid Ali giving this weed to. And it was me. He getting more and more weed. So eventually, and we can get into that later or maybe not, but then them dudes come over and they're almost like they want to meet Kid Ali. Because once they make it over here, then everybody know they get a connect. The Jamaicans over there, then they get to connect from the Mexicans, which I come to find out in Cali. Now he giving, but they also, because they like bigger, older than him, they were supplying him, they probably help him get over. So when they get over, they want to be able to deal directly with E. They want to be able to give me the weed. Or he giving me everything he got, and then they giving him everything they got, and then he giving me everything they got. So I'm getting more and more, because these dudes, in Jamaica, I'm talking Kingston 1, I'm talking about Tivoli Gardens, I'm talking about some of the roughest areas in Jamaica, in Kingston, period. They know about a dude named E in Atlanta that make that weed disappear.
It's crazy. But still, it sounds like in the early 90s, the Jamaicans are just the distributors for the Mexicans. So you're selling all this weed, but you're still getting middleman.
That's right.
100%. All they're doing is getting it and dumping it off and taking some points off of each pound.
That's right. Facts.
Do you realize that at some point? You're like, I could just go find the Mexicans myself?
Well, you know what happened? However it happened, and I don't know, because I don't really know what, Kid is getting older, we all getting older. Probably he had a girlfriend that lived out there. His family was real big. So eventually I started going to Cali with him because he told me, well, that's how it happened. So they always had to have a lot of people that could bring the luggages, and people might get popped here and there.
Right.
So I ended up becoming the person that would bring the girls, bring the guys that was willing to go out there and carry the weed. I ended up going out there with Kid. So I start bringing the girls, I start bringing the different people from different colleges to different friends, everyone, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna go out there, they can get paid to bring the weed. We got a system, they bring it, I go out there. Make a long story short, and obviously there's a lot in between. But, so eventually 7 people got caught at one time at LAX. Simultaneous bust. They were following them from the hotel. They were on tours. Not me, I don't get caught, but all my work. It was, probably over however many pounds. It was a lot, probably like 350 pounds or something. Wow. They could carry 50. Each one of them would have 50 on them. And then it was simultaneous bust. I don't get caught. Some of them did a little bit of time because it's LA. So it's weed. Some of them did, 90 days, 120 days. Some of them didn't do no time at all. There was one girl, specifically, I remember her, she was a UGA student, but she was from Russia. And she was over here. And so basically, she couldn't get convicted because if she did, she would be sent back to Russia. And if she went back to Russia, they determined that she'd probably be put to death back at that time because of the way that she came over there. Like they fled Russia, they had no permission to come. So the judge was like, well, we can't do the conviction on her. So they basically just dropped the charges because they didn't want her to receive a death sentence because if she got a conviction, she would have to be deported. So everybody got caught. So me and Kid started, we linked up with somebody which he got connected to through somebody in his family, which was a Mexican, which is our guy that we call Frank. And Frank took it to a whole new level. Frank was obviously getting it directly from Mexico. Now we're talking about the brickweed, the bales, coming from Guadalajara. He was Mexican, he was in Cali. Frank ended up giving the weed to both of us, but Kid was his connection.
Frank from Guadalajara is obviously bringing it in by the tons.
They're bringing it in by the tons.
The bales.
There you go.
Does the quality get any better? Like what quality of weed is this at this point?
Yo, it's been through so many different things that they would call it. But I mean, there was a period of time that we call it well, they call it the Zona. So they call it the Zona. So a lot of it might have been coming in through Zona because
Arizona.
that part of Mexico, right, Arizona, that part of Mexico and where that border is where some of the best weed comes in, and then they would bring it to Cali. So we were getting it in Cali, but they were shipping it for us at that time in trucks. Frank was supplying us both. At some point in time, I don't really know how it happened, but you know, and my guy Kid, if he see this, you know, he knows I love him to this day. Somehow the money got up, and somehow Frank was kind of thinking that it was me or whatever, and somehow he mentioned to me, you know, you gotta turn in the money faster. And I was like, whoa, hold on, what you mean turn in faster? I'm turning it all into him. He giving it to you. I'm not responsible for all of that. So whatever happened, I don't know. But I ended up dealing with Frank directly because of that. I didn't mess up no money, never.
Wow. So you never f***ed up any money. So now you're basically shaking hands with the Kingpin.
I'm him.
You're them. You're him.
I am.
Today's episode is sponsored by DeleteMe. You guys, data brokers are everywhere mining your information and selling them online to the highest bidder. That's why you're getting all these spam emails from different companies. How did they get a hold of you? By data brokers mining your online information. That is why I use DeleteMe. DeleteMe is a hands-free subscription service that will remove your personal information that's being sold online. DeleteMe has one simple mission: to remove customers' information from search results. They believe in the right to own, manage, and remove your personal information. Here's how it works. DeleteMe's privacy experts will find and remove your personal information online. You can submit requests to them too. They can delete your phone number, your email, your address if it's out there, your business, whatever you don't want being out there on the interweb. They can remove you from all search engines, and you get a report within 7 days of this process beginning. Plus, it's an ongoing process. DeleteMe will remove your personal information regularly. I mean, daily, weekly, yearly. They are monitoring what data brokers are doing with your personal information. Get 20% off of a DeleteMe consumer plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/connect. Once again, that's promo code CONNECT at checkout to get 20% off of your plan. You guys, take back some privacy by having your personal information wiped from the internet. Go to joindeleteme.com with the promo code CONNECT.
Why are you able to kill it so hard in Atlanta? I assume it's because they've never seen weed at that time that good and for that price?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, I had the best weed in Atlanta at the best price. They were 22-pound bales. I mean, this was fire. I mean, it was green. It was this is when the Zona was exploding. It was green. It was fresh. It had red hairs. It got you high. Yeah. It was crazy. And I had it, and just really I had it at a scale. Obviously, I wasn't the only one doing it, but I was the only one that I knew doing it at that level. At that scale.
Nobody could get it for the low like you could give it to them.
Not that I knew, not in my circle. And I knew a lot of people.
Yeah.
Trust me, I was a drug dealer's weed dealer.
Yeah.
So all the dudes that was getting, you know, that was doing 50 or 100 birds a week, they were getting their weed from me. And they consider weed a small thing. So a dude that's doing 100 bricks a week, he might be a multimillionaire, but he might want to do 300-400 pounds like it's a small thing just for some people.
Some diversity.
A lot of them got it from me. And I had dudes that was getting it, you know, directly from Meech. I mean, it's just
so coke kingpins. You were also hitting them off with a smooth 300 or 400 pounds of weed a week,
like water, like clockwork. They were my friends, personal friends.
Holy shit!
You know, and a lot of these dudes are still there. Some of these dudes just got life sentences. Some of these dudes is dead, but they were personal friends. And I just never wanted to really be the coke guy. I wanted to be the weed guy. So people probably thought I sold coke, But I just made so much selling weed that you probably thought I sold coke. A lot of people did because I was making more money than most dudes that sold coke. Not all. I ain't trying to say that I made more than all of them, but I made more than a lot of them because they just didn't even understand how much money could be made in weed.
Well, nobody did back in the 90s.
That's right.
Nobody did.
Right, and it was too bulky. They would always say, well, why I make, 30, 40,000 on something like this.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're right about that.
They
but,
are.
you're just taking a lot of big penitentiary chances.
Right, bigger than the weed.
Do you remember when the Flannerys got to Atlanta?
I do.
Did you ever know them back in those
That's
days?
what I said, I knew Meech. And it's not to say that he was a personal friend of mine because he wasn't. But I did know him and I knew other people that was dealing with him and I hung out with him before.
Were they well known in the streets?
They were extreme. You talking about BMF?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very well known. Extremely well known. And they were them boys for real. I mean, they got well known on a worldwide level. And but I knew them before they were that. Well, when I say them, Meech, I didn't hung out with him and just smoke weed with him. I never did business with him before and I never got nothing from him because I didn't sell coke. But some of my friends did because they wanted me to help them ship. They wanted me to show them how to ship stuff back in the weed. Because in between me moving to the semis and all of that, I didn't send weed every which way that you could imagine. And the Jamaicans used to send weed. They sent it with the girls that I talked about. They sent it UPS. Yeah. They sent it FedEx. Every which way that you could imagine. Greyhound. Yeah. We didn't do Amtrak. We did it. So I seen it. So I always been a person that knew how to get it. I specialized in TP. So one of my boys that knew Meech, he brought me out. He came out there because he already knew I was gone, so I could show him how to ship his birds. Yeah. I was just an expert at packaging and doing all that, and I had the occasion to hang out at his spot on La Cienega Boulevard, and we smoked a lot of weed, and he talked a lot of shit, but he was him for real. And then later on, a few years later, he became him on a whole nother level.
Oh, you're talking about Meech's brother?
No, I'm talking about Meech.
Okay.
Yeah, my boy knew him.
So Meech had a spot out in L.A. as well?
On La Cienega.
Okay.
That he would just, he would, whatever, he was, that's where they did their thing.
So you show him how to package up their kilos?
I didn't show Meech shit. That was my boy that I showed something.
I see.
My boy was dealing with Meech.
What was your favorite way to get drugs from L.A. back to Atlanta?
Well, the favorite way became the tractor trailer. That's a whole nother level.
Right.
It's a whole nother level. I mean, you're talking about so much weed in so many boxes, it fill up multiple garages and multiple houses. I mean, there's tons we talking about.
Yeah.
It's not, this is a whole nother level. You remember when I talked about stretching my mind? Mm-hmm. When your mind gets stretched like that, it never goes back. It's stretched out of shape or in shape. But it's a shape.
It's almost a curse.
It's almost a curse. It is. That's why I told you I don't really know what would have happened if I was with BME and them because I'm addicted to the lifestyle and the money. I mean, I done made $500,000 in one day before. I'm not gonna say I made that money every day, but I made it all the time. But listen, and this ain't, like I told you, Johnny, I never told this story before except one other occasion, and it was just one time. And I've been home for a minute, I never told this story because I always believed in the flash, I just want the cash. Mm-hmm. So everything's real. And there was a lot of dudes that didn't know me, or dudes that I looked up to in New York that was they were like mythic figures on what they did, but they were well known. I was a dude that wasn't well known, but I was behind the curtain. And some of them same dudes that was drug laws, if you want to know what the era that I grew up in, go and listen to Ghetto Quran by 50 Cent. Mm-hmm. Those is dudes that I knew watching growing up, and some of them dudes I ended up supplying as I got older. So that's not, it is what it is.
Did that blow your mind?
It does blow my mind. And I didn't talk with people, cousins, and look back and these dudes was him. But for real.
And now you're their connect.
I'm him on a whole nother level.
So to make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, sometimes $500,000 a day off of that kind of weed, the Arizona, the Mexican bale weed,
right.
How many units do you have to be moving? How much what is your profit after freight, after shipping, your costs? What is your profit per unit? Well,
there was a time when I was getting it for, let's say, 500. And this is, so there's a whole span. I'm getting it for 5, I'm selling them for 850. Other people probably selling for 1,000, 1,200, 13, 14, whatever they selling it for. So I'm making good money. You just do the math. But then I started going out of state. And I'm supplying to Cincinnati, Ohio, I'm supplying to Cleveland, I'm sending bags to New York, the Carolinas, Alabama, everywhere. We all over. I'm in West Virginia. Now, instead of getting $850, I'm getting $1,400 for a pound.
Wow. And you can dump like 200 on somebody.
Listen, it was crazy.
So yeah, if you sold 15 or 20,000 pounds in a day and your profit was just say on average, I don't know, $600. Yeah, that's about $500,000.
Yeah. Well,
holy
listen,
shit.
like I said, I didn't make 500,000 every day. I ain't gonna say no dreams or illusions of grandeur, but there was occasions when I did. But when I did that type of money, I wasn't only selling the Mexican weed, I was also selling the chronic.
Okay, let's get into that in a sec. Are you tractor trailing to all of these different locations?
Nah.
Okay.
No, I come to Atlanta and then we flush it out with drivers.
I see.
To different places. They either come to me and get it, but once I had people that I had in Cincy, and once I had people that I had in Columbus, Ohio, and in West Virginia, we just had different girls driving it up.
Okay. So Atlanta is the hub.
Atlanta's the hub. Was then, is now.
Is now. For everything. Meth,
the whole
coke.
now. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Guns, everything.
Yeah.
They go to the East. It's the hub for the East Coast.
Yeah.
Atlanta is for the East Coast what LA is for the West Coast. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what was going on.
All right. So you would get, and it sounds like your connect, Frank from Mexico, from Guadalajara.
Right.
What year is this? I'm trying to determine what organization in Mexico, what cartel he worked for.
Okay, this is probably going to be 97, 98. 99. And sometimes the years might merge because I've told bits of the story, but I've never sat down and did an interview like this where I told a story. So anybody that knows, once you reach out, like sometimes I just don't have specific years, but this was around 97, 98. I know that because I was one of the first dudes to have a 540i Beamer in Atlanta. And I know that I was with him during that time. And as some years went by, I ended up, so remember I told you I'm getting it from LA. But then as my mind keeps stretching and stretching to where it gets so stretched out of shape, it's like a hula hoop right now. It can't never go back. Now, I had ended up going to Guadalajara with Frank. Then the prices went to a whole nother level.
Okay, tell us about that. Why would Frank bring you down? This is usually what the cartel does, though. They want to know who is this gringo moving all this work. Bring him down because they want to meet you. They just want to meet you face to face.
100%.
It's almost like they're giving you an award for salesmanship.
Ain't no question.
So they summon you and you go down there with Frank.
Right.
Tell us about that. I've been to Guadalajara. I love Guadalajara.
I love it.
Tell us about what that was like. What happened?
The women there are beautiful, more beautiful than other parts of Mexico.
I agree.
Why does everybody seem like they're good looking here, Frank? And he said, well, you got a lot of money there, and that's where tech comes to meet a lot of different things. Tech meets cartel. You got the Gucci store. You got all of the name brand, the best restaurant. You've been there. So I come there just because we go on to different levels. I'm able to bring more to the table because at one point what happened is the dude that had that was driving, that was bringing it back, he ended up getting busted. He tried to set me up, but my spidey senses went off, so I never went to meet him. That's a whole nother story. So I just know he got busted. I didn't get caught up in that. So now we going, he invites me to Mexico. I want to get a cheaper and cheaper price. I go to Mexico. He's got a call. I don't know if you've been up there before, but you got to call the different people to let them know that we're going to be going. We're going up into the foothills. So I could see it. I could see it when it's, on the vine or when they take it off. I could pick it like that.
They took you to a field.
They took me to a field.
Wow.
Way up in the hills.
Yeah.
So you got to go. There's different checkpoints. When you go to these checkpoints, they're on the radio. I'm like, oh shit. So he's like, when we go up here, don't worry. There's gonna be like checkpoints and like you can't just go up here. Yeah. And he's like, but don't worry about it. I already called out. They know we're coming. They know it's you. They know a gringo's coming. I'm like, oh shit, Frank, are you sure it's gonna be cool? So
like a guest of honor.
A couple different checkpoints, and it was cool.
Because you think it's like the military or the cops, but you're like, oh no, they have no markings, they have no badges.
Right. Well, in some instances, it could be the cops, but the cops is
working for
the cartel in many instances.
Right.
So they got to know you're coming. They knew he was coming, and it's all good. They treat you like royalty. It was all cool. I was able to see weed in a way that I had never really seen it like that before, and we were able to get a whole nother price.
Is that the first time you've seen a weed garden?
Yes.
How big was it? Like, what do you estimate? Like thousands of plants? Like,
it was thousands. I was able to see it on the vine, off the vine. They brought me to different areas, and it was mesmerizing to me. They talked about how the whole process that they do to turn it into the bales. He said they stepped on it with their feet. I didn't know any of this. This was like amazing shit to me.
Right.
But it was extremely fascinating. I'm like, man, I'm up here, like for real.
Yeah.
I'm there, and then the price level goes to a whole nother level. Now you talking about getting stuff for like, it'll blow your mind, it'll scare you.
Well, first of all, was this weed from, was it outdoors completely, or was it in a
outdoors.
greenhouse?
This was outdoors.
Okay. And what is the point of giving you a better price when you know you'll take the price what they were giving it to you at?
100%.
What is the point of showing you more love by bringing you down there, showing you the operation?
Well, Johnny.
What do you think? I
know exactly what it is. My mind was stretched. It's getting stretched out. It keeps getting stretched and expanded. The points that can never be brought back. I'm gaining more and more knowledge. I know that there's a cheaper price, and I need to get it. So, he basically said, like, listen, this is how we're going to have to do it. They want to meet you. You're going to have to go over there. We're going to have to talk to them. You want to get it for a better price. You're going to have to send your money. There's a chance that it could get bust, but there's a chance that it won't get bust. But if you get one load, if you get one load, it don't matter if the next 2 or 3 get busted.
Oh, right. So you might have gone and found a different supplier. So that's why they were like trying to, woo you in, show you love.
I'd imagine that's what's in their mind.
Yeah.
I never would have threatened to or said I was going to buy a different supplier, because the last time I left the dude, I told you what happened. My cousin got shot, pump shotgun, his kidneys, his intestines was hanging out of his stomach, 6 feet of intestines. I mean, he got shot right before my eyes. Yeah. The hit was for me. They tried to get me, shotgun blast, but my reaction, I threw a bat at him, and it just made him jerk upwards. So when I threw it and ducked down, I didn't get shot.
Yeah, a cartel wouldn't have done that. They would have maybe kidnapped you for a day and said, "Hey, what's my problem, my friend? Why I not hear from you? Oh, we'll give you a better price." Right. Like they would have worked it out.
Right.
Like why would they try to kill their golden goose?
Yeah, their money supply.
They're a lot more logical than people give them credit for.
So
okay,
it never came to that.
So wow, I mean, just take a moment to think about that. This Jehovah's Witness kid selling $20 vials on the cold, windy streets of Bayside, Queens.
That's right.
God, it's and 20 years later, you're literally like you are a top dog. It doesn't get no higher than that, man.
Yeah, it's true, and it's a moral conflict, but not that much. And why? Because I always felt like and knew in my heart, because of like just being damn near, I ain't gonna say raised, but just a lot of influence at a very young age. When I got into the game, rosters and people I used to hang out with, I smoked a lot of weed. And the reason why is because I just did not feel that weed was that hurts anybody. So in my mind, the justification was, this is bullshit. It shouldn't be illegal anyway. Yeah. And if I can get rich doing it, catch me if you can. That was my thought process on some real shit.
Okay, so what do you guys negotiate down there in Guadalajara in that weed field?
Yo, the price was so crazy. It damn near came down to probably $25 a pound or something like that. But at that point, when you start getting on those levels, it's really the kilogram that you're buying it. Yeah. So it's 2.2 pounds. And then you gotta pay to get it in and get it across the border or whatever the hell it is. It probably, after expenses and everything, probably came to maybe $100, $125 a pound or some shit like that. However, the way it works is if I get my own ton, they get their ton. So, I might sell a ton at my price, but I do a ton at their price. But it still works out because I was him. And so, at this point, you selling a lot of weed, though.
So your price went from like 500 down to like, I don't know, 150, 200?
Essentially, if you average it all out.
So you got it down by over half.
Yeah, ain't no question. So listen, I never been a dude, and like, the moral conflict gets in when people owe you, right? And like, I was never the toughest dude. I was never no killer or nothing like that with violence. I wasn't the toughest, but I was far from the softest. So I had a lot of heart and I didn't play. But at the same time, beyond, and I always had a lot of people that would, because I always made a lot of people a lot of money. So I always had people that was willing to do what needed to be done. And, probably sometime I crossed the line, never killed anybody or anything like that, but just to let know you're gonna pay. But it was a conflict to me because I was not born. I was not. I didn't grow up like that. So I was making so much money. The thing I was able to figure out at a very young age is a lot of this shit. Like people think, and this is why I always thought I had an advantage, because people would think an advantage because of my roots and the conflict. Some people came into the game at a very young age, and the influences that they had, they think you got to kill somebody if they owe you money, or you got to do something gruesome to them. I always stopped short of that, and eventually I got away from it completely because I understood that you just got to become a better person of who you, because a lot of my business was cash out, but a lot of it, a huge amount of it was giving people credit. So you have to become like a bank. That's how I look at it. You got to become a master at who you give a chance to. Who you gonna give this credit line to? And if they up, they not me up. They themselves up.
Right.
I got dudes that owe me millions, not one dude. Collectively, I probably had more owed to me or just as much owed to me as I done made, and I made a lot. But I knew that like some people would think it's like a video game or the movies or, oh, you gotta be this killer. Nah, you don't. Really, the way that you survive and make a lot of money is not hurting anybody, because once the violence comes into play, it's only so long because your time is getting closer to the end. So for me, I would just better be a better steward. I grew to be a better steward of who I gave credit to. But I said all of that to say, even if I lost, if a dude, and I would turn dudes up quick because I got turned up quick. So I believe in the good of people. I knew that when dudes gave me some, I'll break myself. Before I gave my Beamer away that I told you about that I bought earlier to Frank because it didn't matter to me. I didn't give a damn about all of that. What I knew is that this dude is the golden goose. Because some shit happened, whatever that happened, bust here, bust there, this person owed me, all type of shit happened. I gave him my Beamer to pay a debt because I never wanted to stop that money flow. Dudes, they didn't think like that. So, they be thinking all type of stupid shit. So I said all I had to say that, dudes owed me. But it didn't matter because I already knew.
Well, that's the only way to scale and push out much work is you have to give credit out.
There you go.
Because people just don't have COD like that. They don't have cash, to buy tens of thousands of pounds at a time. Maybe one or two guys do. So you kind of have to do that.
Facts.
So now how does it work if you're getting it in by the ton, by like the 2.2 pounds, per jump? So the route is LA to Atlanta still?
To Atlanta, yep.
Okay. And where do you go pick it up in LA where they say pick it up? Or are you also in charge of warehousing it in LA?
Well, no. So I would meet the driver. I know who the driver was. Well, that was before the driver got caught. And we'd go to different places. Normally it was in like, what do they call them? Industrial parks.
Yeah.
So you find an industrial park that's kind of cool, and then you meet them at 2, 3 in the morning. And I either bring my brother or my cousin, the two people. We got a van and we got a U-Haul truck.
Right.
And you just get out there and you just form a chain. And then, I have different houses. I mean, my garage was looking crazy. Other people's garage, different. I have it in my garage. It bring me to prison. I don't know if you know, I was a store man in prison. I know you wouldn't know that, but what I mean is, how there'd be a store man and they might have lockers all over the compound where you got Max or whatever it was that you got hidden. That's how I had houses.
Yeah.
I got different people that I pay their rent. You know what I mean? Just to have boxes upon boxes in their garage. And mine was one of them too, which was stupid. I shouldn't have had it, but I have my garage.
In LA, you had stash houses like that too?
No. I didn't have to cover none of that.
Got it.
Frank, it was in LA. They would take care of all of that. They would package everything. They would get the boxes. They would organize the place to meet, and then they would ship it off.
That's such a sweet deal. You don't have to worry about any of that shit. All you got to do is get it to Atlanta.
Right, at that time.
Now, did you close down the trap houses, like the herb gates, once you were this high up on the wholesale level? Like, did you keep those open for like small, just 2-3 pound dealers that wanted to pick it up?
No, eventually shit happened over there. Cats got busted. There were shootouts involved. All type of crazy shit happened. And eventually we moved away from that. So we would just have different safe houses. Yeah. And then a lot of the people I was dealing with, they were friends that I knew, that we were just friends. Those cats always paid because it was nothing. I get them whatever, and they bring me the money later. These cats had money. And then I got some connections to where I was bringing, once I started getting that West Virginia money and that Ohio money and that Carolina money and that, Alabama money and that Tennessee money. Yeah. Only the people that could get it from me in Atlanta was the cats that I had personal relationships with because they paid twice as much in other places. It didn't make any sense. Most of my stuff was going out of state.
Yeah, right. So you made a lot of dudes money.
I made a lot of people money, and I always did, and people always loved me.
Yeah.
And like Frank used to say, that was the point I was going to bring up. So that's where the moral conflict comes in. If somebody owed me money, I had to make a decision because it's just like the president in real life. Like the president of the United States, or probably you, when you was, doing what you was doing, or anyone, power it has to be yielded responsibly. So when people owe me money and I want to, like, hey, Frank, you got anybody else? People owe me money, I want to. But their idea a lot of times was, he would say, well, there's no such thing as bad payers. There's only bad collectors. So then when they start talking about, do you want us to disappear him? I was like, whoa. I wasn't into that.
Oh, so they offered that.
They offered it.
Wow.
But I did not take, I did not bite. because I just was never into that. So that never became a thing because I knew once they started talking about, you just give us the address and you give them, we handle the rest. You ain't got to worry about that. So I knew that there wasn't a dude that could, I mean, you might harm a hair on my head. But if I went back and reported you, they were going to disappear you.
Wow.
That's just how they did business. But I never did that.
Wild.
You know what I'm saying? I never did it. And it didn't take much for me to, like, I'm not into that.
How long did it take? How long did you have to get the cartel their money back? Like after a load came through?
You know, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, because they came every 2-3 weeks, maybe every 4 weeks.
Whenever you're done.
You know? Yeah, whatever I was done. There was never no pressure on me. Remember,
Right.
I always paid. I paid. I built up a lot of, what do they call it? Political capital.
Yeah.
In this sense, it would be called business capital or cartel capital or weed capital, drug deal, call it whatever you want. Yeah. But they knew I was going to pay. Yeah. And if something did happen, they knew I was going to pay.
How much money would you deliver them at a time?
Oh, man, this is crazy. You know, hundreds of thousands, $500,000, $1 $2 million. We had, so we had different cars, we had trucks, we had all type of shit. As a matter of fact, one of the ways that we would get flour to West Virginia is we had pickup trucks. And so they have a fake bed underneath the bed. So then they put the bricks in there and then they would have like a rope. And then you pull that rope and then they'd start coming out. Well, so when it went down like that, then when the weed went down, then the money would also come back. So then we also have drivers that would bring the money to Cali. I mean, we had stash cars, we had Altima, we had trucks, we had Mac, we had all type of different shit with stash spots and everything. So different people would bring the money at different occasions. There was always money going back.
So trucks was always moving, right?
This was a regular thing.
How many people were working for you in this whole operation? How many people you had working?
You know, I never counted it, but you know, over time, I don't know, 15, 20 at one time. Yeah. Now, when I say working for me, we talking about runners, we talking about girls, we talking about drivers. Yeah. Then we talking about, and this is the area where it gets a little squirrely because like people in the, you know, whatever viewership world or you or whoever, they might consider some of the people that I was sending to in West Virginia working for me. Maybe they were, but I never really considered it like that. I don't know. For me, it was a buy and sell relationship. That was a point of contention in my appeal also. Because I didn't set their prices. I didn't know their people. I didn't know none of that shit. All I knew is that if I bought them a certain amount, they was going to cash out on a certain amount, and I was going to put more on top. Because I was charging them so much, it was all good. So I didn't really have no leadership, maybe just by influence, but I didn't orchestrate or wield no leadership authority over them. Or they tried to make it like that when I went to trial, because I'm a trial dude. So, you know, I went to trial and I lost. I don't know if we're going to talk about that or not, but off record, we talked about that. But so I don't really count those dudes as working for me.
No, I meant the people running for you.
Directly under my leadership. Yeah. You know, listen, off the top of my head, you know, I don't know, maybe 15, maybe 20 at any given time, maybe 10, because actually running and driving, maybe 10, because then a lot of other people like associates, like, you know what I mean? I funded them a lot of weed, but they had their own people, they did their own thing.
Right. You said you had family that you brought down from New York?
I did.
Who were they?
It was my brother, it was my cousin. My brother had moved, we all lived in Atlanta, but then they had moved back. They had moved back to New York.
Did you bring them into your business?
Oh, ain't no question about it. That's why they came down.
I see. And and they continued with you after you blew up? Okay.
Yeah, we was always a family and an extended family. So it was me, it was my brother, it was cousins, and then it was friends that we knew from New York. We brought people down. Yeah. I don't want to say they was the muscle because they sold too, but they was also the muscle. They was like we had like we was a tight family with friends. So I ain't gonna really put it like it was the muscle because I told you I got out of that. But when we was really young, you know, I ain't even gonna put it like the muscle. I'm just gonna say like we was a crew. Everybody sold weed. They sold weed to different people, and I was the person that shit flowed around. I was the one getting it in. I'll just say that.
Were you guys sending product back to New York?
We sent product to New York. We sent product to the Carolinas. But the most product went to West Virginia and Ohio, which was Cincinnati and Columbus.
Yeah, those seem to be. I've heard that before. I've talked to big time drug dealers. Ohio seems to be like a huge market. Why do you think that is?
Baby, they like good weed, and they paid a premium as long as it was green, fluorescent green, and good. Like I told you, they was paying $1,400. This was unheard of in Atlanta.
Unheard of,
unbelievable.
And you got it for $200,
and it was going to disappear like lightning. We make it disappear. Everything finds a home.
West Virginia, do you think that's just because it's so far away? It's so remote.
Yeah, I guess so. They smoke a lot of weed too. They did a lot of drugs. Like I said, I never got participated in that, but I know that they were doing a lot of meth, amphetamines, and they sold a lot of weed, man. They sold a lot. They smoked a lot. There was 2.7% black people, and it's a bad place to catch a case. I can tell you that right now. I never should have went to trial in West Virginia, but you live and learn. It is what it is. I'm a stand-up dude.
Were the people getting work in these different states? Were they black?
They were black. They were all black. I had some people in Atlanta but they weren't getting on that type of massive scale. And as a matter of fact, these dudes that was getting weed for me, like some cats that I went to Oxford Emory with, man, some of them became dear friends, and some of them I haven't seen for a long time. I would love to run back into one of them. I don't want to say name because I don't know what he might be doing nowadays, but they were growing also, and that so that's when I really. That was one of the ways that I was really getting introduced to like indoor weed. Right. And they was growing and I'd buy everything that they grew.
Oh, interesting. They were growing it out in
Atlanta in their closet or whatever.
Right. On a very small scale.
Yeah, small scale, nothing.
Okay.
But I knew a couple people like that. Well, no, the large scale indoor was coming from, like I told you, Emerald Triangle.
That's right. So when did you start to migrate from moving the bales from Guadalajara to Northern California? When did that come into the mix?
Yeah, that was probably the late 90s, early 2000s. If I put I was getting weed, it was called an orange. And I was getting it from cats. As a matter of fact, I was getting it from a Jamaican cat, but then he plugged me with the cats that he was getting it from in Cali, they were in Long Beach. And they was getting it from, come to find out, that particular weed was coming from Oregon.
Yep.
It was coming from Portland. It was called the Orange. And I bought the Orange to Atlanta. And I was making so much money. I don't like the dates get screwed with it. Like I told you, I had some of the most profitable spots in the West End area on Frank Street. And we had people coming from every corner, athletes. Right, it didn't matter who it was. They was coming for that orange. Right. And I wasn't there once again. I would have people sell it. But we made over $12,000 a pound because it was so fire. It was so powerful. This was probably still in the 90s. I probably jumped around. It's probably out of order because that was my first introduction to the chronic. Yeah. And we would sell it. You couldn't buy. You could buy an ounce, but you had to buy it in all grams. So it was $840 an ounce, which was like $12,800 a pound.
Which is just like mind blowing to think about, and that's because there was just not a lot of it. Right. And it was so compared to all the weed that had been coming in from Mexico and Jamaica. Right. You might as well have been doing a different drug. Right. It was like crack. It was like the crack of weed. Right.
No question.
It was just, and you had to be a real baller to smoke it.
That's right.
So that's why it got started very niche with, like, as you said, in Atlanta, ball players and rappers and shit like that.
That's right. And drug dealers. If you was a dope boy, right, or a rapper or an athlete, right, and you had the money to buy this, and we didn't care. There wasn't no discount. Nobody else had it. It was on Frank Street. Shout out to anybody in Atlanta. If you were in my age group and you watching, you knew Frank Street and you knew it was me. Back then, they didn't call me Obama. They called me E. Big E. It's just real shit.
Sorry, Meech. You want an ounce? You're going to have to buy 28 grams. Wow.
Well, yeah, but the thing about Meech is he already, he had a place in L.A. too, so, he didn't need me to get his weed.
Okay, so does it, so late 90s, early 2000s, you start to, I don't know, the culture starts to shift. Right. More and more people are starting to grow it in Northern California, in Oregon. People are starting to scale up with the indoor grows.
That's right.
How do you, who brings you into that culture first?
I was already introduced to it. So I ended up getting robbed and laid down in Long Beach. And I still don't know to this day if my Jamaican buddy that introduced me to them had anything to do with it. He said he didn't. But
what happened? How'd you get robbed?
Well, they laid me down. They knew I was coming. I come out there with my cousin. She's older than me.
How much are you picking up?
I mean, I don't know, maybe, probably 10 pounds or whatever, the orange or whatever. But back then, I'm paying $6,800 for a pound. Right. But remember, I'm making $12,800. So
but you're going there with 70 G's. I'm going. It's enough to rob you, to get robbed in Long Beach.
And they robbed me.
Right.
The people I was getting it from, I know they the ones that set me up. But they knew when I was getting out. They knew where I was going to park. Right. As soon as I got out the car, they was there. They laid me down. They jacked me. They took the whole car. Everything. As a matter of fact, they tried to speed up. My little cousin is in the back. I'm talking about my little cousin, like 5 years old, which was my older cousin's son, So they tried to drive over. He's like, no, please let my son. So then they stopped. They didn't realize he was in the back seat. So they was waiting for us as soon as we got out. So they robbed us. All right. That happened. They got us. That was a whole nother thing. So obviously I never with them again. Mm-hmm. That was over. But I always knew a lot of people. So my kid introduced me to one person and somebody else introduced me to another. So I ended up getting connected through, like I said, different people, whether it was Mendocino County or Humboldt. It was really mainly Humboldt and Trinity County, but Trinity was when I, got introduced to outs, which are basically depths. I got introduced to outs and depths, but for the purpose of the East Coast, it don't make a difference. They don't know. They lose them. They'll never use the word outs.
Outs is outdoor?
Outdoor.
See, but it looked like chronic grown indoor. It was such good outdoor weed, especially like right after harvest, that it could have been grown indoor.
Yeah, for the purposes of the East Coast, they don't.
Right.
But I'm also getting real chronic from my people in Humboldt.
Okay.
These dudes is masters. One of them they even call like the grandfather of Humboldt. I ain't gonna say his name.
Are they white boys?
White boys.
Yeah, of course.
The white boys grow the best weed. They got all the secrets. This is generational shit.
Yeah.
This third generational growers and all type of shit like that.
Right. So your plug from Mexico, Frank, he didn't bring you up there.
Nah, hell no. He had nothing to do with it.
Okay,
This
so
is a whole nother. They don't even know about indoor.
Right. Okay. So, do you start to scale up and pick up more of the good Cali weed and pick up order less of the bud from Mexico?
I did. I mean, I was still getting a lot, but the game started changing.
Right.
So there was still a place for Zona. Don't get me wrong. I still did a lot. There was times, they didn't, it started switching to better and better weed. AAA dabs, outs, ends, and all that type of stuff. So that started getting reduced more and more, but I still had a market for it. But as it got reduced more and more and more, eventually it kind of just got faded out, to be honest with you.
Did you tell them what was going on? Like, did they call you and say, what's going on? Why?
Okay, Frank ended up getting deported. I left that out.
He caught a case.
Frank caught it. I don't even think he caught it. He just got deported. For whatever happened, he was in the United States for mad long, and they kind of just flipped on him for like some bullshit. It wasn't even no big case that he caught. It was like they deported him for some shit.
Whatever, he got pulled over and
from some shit he had in like 1978. It was crazy.
Okay.
So I still had contact with him. We were still friends. We tried some a couple times, but it just wasn't the same when he was here. Because then they wanted me to kind of be like responsible for they wanted me to give him an address and all that type of shit to have it shipped. And then these dudes don't want to ship nothing small. They want to ship like 8,000 pounds and 10,000 pounds. And, they shipped it to other people who would give me like, a ton and a half a ton, whatever it was. But it was taking longer and longer to get rid of it. The profit wasn't there. The profit was there in Northern Cali.
Yeah.
So it was different, And that's what it became. I'm getting in from Santa Rosa. I'm getting in from LA. I'm getting in from, I got connections all over California, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting my depths and my outs from way up top. You already know, all the way in the mountains. And I'm mainly getting ins from either LA or from Santa Rosa. And I did have some people that specialize in ins in Humboldt.
Right. Okay. So, and then do you start to get quantity of that stuff?
Oh yeah, I'm getting quantity. I'm getting boxes.
Yeah.
That's when they start talking about boxes. I'm not getting a ton.
Right.
But I'm getting a case.
Right. You don't need a ton. You could get whatever, a couple hundred pounds.
Right. And that's where I really made the most money. When I said I made that $500,000 in a day on a couple occasions, it was because I'm a case buyer now. A case, a box is 100, a case is 10 boxes. Okay. So at the, so somebody that I was, a friend of mine, he tracked it at one point. We moving and we doing it so fast. He said the most that we did with this group, and this group was basically, it was 2,700 in like 10 days, 2,700 pounds.
Wow.
So we getting depths, we getting ins, we getting it. And it is what it is.
And just charging such a crazy premium.
It was incredible. It blew your mind. It blew my mind. At this point in time, my mind is so far stretched out.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Right. So could you make, what was like a profit off 1 pound? Like could you make $5,000 marking it up?
Nah, not off of 1 pound. Not me. Because, I know I talked about paying $6,800 for a pound, but obviously that came way down.
Yeah.
So now for ends, maybe I paid $25,000, $3,000. The price, it was dropping. But I was still paying high, but I'm still, if I'm wholesaling, I'm giving the people, I'm still making a couple thousand off a pound.
Yeah.
Off of indoor.
Yeah.
But off of depths, you still making, you might make, no, the price was all over the place, but you might make $500-600 off a pound of depths.
Yeah.
This is crazy mindset and strict shit. When you doing the number, I'm living the numbers. It went from, there's nothing that I wanted that I couldn't buy. But my mind wasn't really stretched where it really should have been, because you can't buy a building. Then one of the major problems is, what the do you do with the money?
Right.
What do you do with it? One of the hardest things is moving around the cash.
Yeah.
And you're afraid if they break into your house, if the house burns down.
How did you store your cash?
In safes, under the mattress, in different places. I tried to spread it out.
Yeah.
You know, I spent a lot of it before I started being more responsible.
Yeah.
I was a strip club connoisseur. I was a strip club whore. Atlanta got the best strip clubs. That ain't no secret.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on girls and a lot of club in the strip club. And I was in the strip club every single day. I spent a lot of money traveling within the United States and moving back and forth and just kind of like blowing money, you know, giving out weed reckless. You know, when I say reckless, a dude didn't really always have to earn it. People talk a good game. You give them so much, you know, most people don't pay. You know, I just always think I pay, everybody else is gonna pay. They don't. But, you know, we made money fast. Everybody in my crew made money.
Yeah.
And that's how it went.
How did it, so you're getting cases.
And I'm a case buyer. And when you're a case buyer.
How do you get cases? Because this is valuable weed now. So it's not like you got to be a little more artisanal with how you ship it, right? Because this is very, very valuable. How would you ship a case, 1,000 pounds of chronic, California
I
chronic?
Opened up to the. So listen, we did it UPS, FedEx. We did it every type of way. You make it, and you lose. You got different type of ways. You're doing boxes, you're doing tubes. I'm stretching my hands because they might be long, or they might be this way, or they might be big. There's different type of ways that you ship it. But then eventually, I always had in my mind once my exposure to truck. So then eventually, I started getting different truckers. You know, we paid for people to get trucks, and they paid us back by, you know, making money. I mean, I'm paying people, so we paying $50 a pound for them to bring them back. They're always making a minimum of 50 to 60,000 per trip, because the truckers now, they bring in a minimum of 1,000 to 1,200, sometimes more, sometimes never less than 1,000, because that was just what they was used to and what they was expecting. So
60 G's just to put it on your semi.
Right.
That's getting hauled with other products.
Right. And it's getting hauled with other products. You're 100% right. They got to have a load. But what people think is that 1,000, that 1,500, 1,400, like that would affect the weight. That doesn't affect the weight. It's all in your logbook. It's all in your logbook, and whether or not, if your paperwork is right and you got your manifest, you got another load, is nothing. Because a truck could carry up to 80,000 pounds. So if you carry 80,000 pounds, if they got 78,000 or 70,000, it don't matter what they had. People think that the weight when they go through the weigh station, that shit don't make a difference. That could be the difference in air pressure, air tie. That could be the difference in fuel. So there was ways to do it. That was nothing.
So you're not going to get searched as a trucker if you go through a weigh station and you're 1,000 pounds off.
Nah, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. People don't even know that. There's tricks to the trade.
Right.
You know, you start off with a certain amount of fuel. It could be fuel. There's just so many. They don't even look at that. As long as that logbook is right, you know, you can drive for a certain amount of hours. It's all about the paperwork. And regular cops can't pull over a truck. People don't know that. They got to be DOT. You interstate commerce right now. Any little Joe Blow can't just decide, oh, well, I'll pull this guy over. Maybe they might pull you over for speeding. Yes, state trooper or whatever. But they can't just decide we're going to open up a truck that has a seal on it and open it up just because he's Joe Blow cop that wants to be interested in you. No. You got to have a reason to open up this 18. With interstate commerce. I know about interstate commerce because that was one of my charges. Okay.
So would you approach these truck drivers, or how I'm always fascinated by how you flip these guys?
Nah, there's no flipping. It's always based on somebody I knew or somebody that somebody knew. So they'd had a conversation. You know, honesty was the number one thing, integrity. These dudes, you know, you try and find someone honest. I mean, you could always say you're going to do this, you're going to do that to someone if they run off with a load, but you really don't want to have to deal with that. Because honestly, if somebody did, like I told you, like that moral conflict, I never had to deal with, like, anytime there was some money loss, I could always justify that I can make it back. I don't know what would have happened if somebody would have ran off with one of them loads, but I never had to worry about that because we knew the truckers that we got. So we knew them, where they lived, their families. We knew the whole setup. There wasn't no running off with the load, you know. And they never did, thank God. So we never even had to find out.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's a whole different level.
We did freight also. That's another thing.
Freight's like that's when you put it on the that's like railroad.
That's right? Like, well, however it got there, whether it was railroad or trucks, I think some of it was probably trucks, some of it was probably railroad. We didn't deal directly with the railroad. We just had shipping companies where they would freight it for us. We pay them. They, you know, this is two different people. You know, Mexicans that I knew, they got a relationship with this shipper. You know, so we box everything, and then they send it in big giant freights. And then when it got on the other end, then we have it. We don't want to really pick it up from that freight company, so then we'd have it. We get a local carrier to come pick it up and then bring it to another one. So we had trackers, we had everything in on it.
I see.
You know, and then we'd have it. But we lost a load like that too. But we seen it tracked all the way to the precinct, so we didn't go and get it.
So you say you want to freight like 1,000 pounds. you have to have somebody on the inside at that company to be able to get it in?
Honestly, you probably didn't, but we did.
Right.
You probably didn't. You just probably had to have the right paperwork,
Right.
the right business. I call it a cover story or a backstory.
Of course.
So, if you're working with a legitimate business that's already receiving and shipping, there's no problem. The people that we had was an insider, so we paid him extra.
Right.
He already had a shipping company that he probably took over from his family or whatever. He might have been doing this for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
He wasn't just shipping stuff for us.
Right.
He shipped stuff all the time. So he showed us how to do it. He got the right, then you ship it to another business address, but it never made it to that business address.
The real heroes, if you want to call them that, the heroes of the drug trade, of the international drug trade, are legitimate shipping families who probably will never get caught.
That's right.
Because there's no way really to prove,
That's right.
unless you're wearing a wire or something like that. I got this legitimate shipping company that I've been doing for 50 years, and there's all of these different products. I don't search everything that comes on. Your paperwork looks straight. You know what I mean? And I just charged a fee on top of it.
No doubt.
They're the ones that really got away with it and
100%.
continue to get away with it. They're
right.
like the only people.
1,000.
That's fascinating. So would you buy out? Like sometimes our connects down in Humboldt, especially like not even Humboldt necessarily, but more like Southern Oregon, where we go to these gardens and growers that would like have 500, 1,000 pounds. We'd be on our way down and they'd call us and be like, hey, some guy just bought us out of everything.
No question.
Would you do that sometimes? Would you buy
me.
connects out of
All the time.
of all the product?
All the time. They had something that we like. We have a strain. We buy the whole thing. We buy it. And so, sometimes it might be a collection of farms, or sometimes it's one dude that's growing a lot. And we buy the farm. No doubt about it.
Did you notice the Mexicans when they started to open up shop in Northern California with those huge gardens? Did you ever get involved with them?
My Mexicans were in LA. They were in Riverside, San Bernardino County. They were in LA. They were from East LA. And these dudes, the Mexicans, they're natural farmers. Yeah. So I got it. So I didn't talk about that. I was getting from Humboldt. I was getting from Trinity, but I was also getting from LA. And those dudes loved me too.
And they were growing indoor in Riverside?
No. They was going
greenhouse.
They was going greenhouse.
Okay, so they would have greenhouses out in San Bernardino, out in the sticks, out in the desert. Okay,
right.
And they probably had weight.
They did.
Mexicans never do anything small.
No, they did a lot, and they had ways to get it there, and they had crews, and they became my buddies, and a lot of them are good people, and we're friends to this day. When I went to prison and came home, nobody talked, everybody walked. That didn't happen with me. People told on me, but I didn't tell on anybody else. And I said, hey, good friends, and I have lifelong friends. And people do what they do based on their environment, based on what they was exposed to. But yes, I got a lot of depths for my amigos. I call them amigos. Ain't no question about it.
Did your parents, your nice Jehovah's Witness parents, I mean, they must have been so proud. Did they know what you were doing this whole time?
Listen.
Must have, right?
Yeah, they did. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness, not my father, but my mother was. And, they knew what I was doing. They didn't embrace it. They didn't know, but they knew something was up. I mean, parents aren't stupid.
No, of course.
I would hide it as much as I could, but at this point in time, I'm not living at home. I'm living wherever I want. I'm living in hotels. I stay in hotels for weeks at a time, months at a time. I'm in New York. I'm in California. I'm everywhere. I'm in Jamaica. I'm wherever the I want to be.
Right. So you didn't have a front business? You didn't have something that you could tell polite company?
Well, at one point I did. At one point I did in the early 2000s. I opened up a restaurant. I was at the forefront of so I had a Soho style. Really, it was a casual upscale, white tablecloth, high ceilings, exposed brick, windows from the floor to the ceiling, because I wanted to bring a Soho style restaurant to Atlanta, and I had one. It was called Icon Bar and Bistro. It was right there in the historic, fairly popular district of Atlanta, 2 blocks in from Centennial Park. I was ahead of the curve. I lost a lot of money in the restaurant business, but I had a whole lot of fun doing it.
Right.
I liked to have my own restaurant. I always thought I was a young John Gotti or whatever.
That's
so
right.
I liked the fact that I could come to the bar.
Yeah.
I was doing all type of stupid shit. I was out of control. I was reckless.
Sure. Yeah. It's hard making money remotely or when you're not there all the time in a restaurant. Restaurants are hard businesses in general.
Extremely hard business. And that's why I lost so much.
Yeah.
In my mind, it was cool. I'm spending so much money. I'm not making any profit, but I'm making money, so it didn't matter.
Right.
It's cool to be the owner of a restaurant.
Yeah.
You meet all type of different people. You meet women. I mean, you're married. It's just, it was reckless. I was young and I was dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
You know what I mean?
That's not going to change, buddy.
Yeah, I know. But you get more controlled. You get, I guess you get more wise.
Yeah.
And you're not as reckless. I learned that we're just grown kids, right? A lot of the things that we used to like doing, we still like doing. I used to think about that as you grow up. Like, am I going to be any different? Nah, I'm still a little boy. I still like some of the same shit. I still like some of the same women. Some of the shit that turned me on then turns me on now. But at the same time, of course, I'm more controlled, I'm more disciplined, I'm focused. So I don't do some of the dumb shit that I used to do.
Yeah, it's so depressing when you put it like that. You're like, we're never going to change. We're just going to bottle it up. That's so depressing.
That's right. And then tell our children, don't do that, don't do this. And if you do it, this is the way you do it. You know?
Well, they're not going to have any opportunity to do that anyways.
No question.
The kids don't, there is no more, the drug game is basically on that level for Americans is basically done. I think. You know what I mean?
Well, for those that are doing it, it's not going to be long-lived. I mean, you still got, I guess, dudes out there that's probably, they're trying it, with, marijuana, it might be over, but who knows? You got so many drugs out there, heroin. People still, I thought it was make-believe. I still, not really, but I see, I have people on my podcast that literally just caught a case. The In and Out podcast, I have conversations with people who have been locked up before. And I had somebody that was a major dude, and I literally spoke at his sentencing hearing like July 4th or July 5th. I mean, it was crazy. He has a new case, fentanyl.
Wow.
And this dude was a major player. Used to own the warehouse. He was tied up in the Fred Tokar's murder. I mean, his name is Andre Willis. And
selling fentanyl.
I was like, he's 57 years old.
It's wild.
So I'm saying there's still people, I don't understand it.
No,
but there's still people out there that are selling hard drugs. And it's crazy.
Yeah. No
You're going to prison if you keep doing that shit.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. I mean, maybe I think people do it at that age because they're like, okay, I'm wiser.
Right.
So now I know actually what to do with my money.
That's right.
Now I actually know how to keep it low.
Right. Or they've been in and out of prison and they just don't really know anything else.
Yeah.
And they get frustrated. And some dudes be trying to get it back. When they get out, people remember you like you were before you went to prison. So then you still trying, that's why you got to really change your environment. You got to change your whole mindset.
Right.
Because people be thinking, like you said, I'm wiser. Other dudes that they was doing it with, as home now, they seeing some of the same things. They figured that they could correct the mistakes they made, and they get right back into the thing. And some dudes get their head knocked off. They put you in the dirt.
Damn. Yeah, it's a street dude's like insurance policy. Like I can always fall back on that's like a street dude's pension plan. I can always fall back on the drug game. You know what I mean?
Right. It's a bad pension plan.
Oh man, that makes me sad.
Yeah, it does. Me too. And that's I guess. I'm guessing and I'm picking up what you're putting down because I watch a lot of your podcasts, and a lot of the people that you talk about, you try and share the positive side of what they're doing. And it does make me sad because it's up. Like some people is doing it, they're not bad dudes. Like some of the best dudes that I met in my life, I met them in prison.
Yeah.
Like you were not a bad dude. You ended up in prison. I was not a bad dude. I ended up in prison and I realized, I just wanted to get money. I didn't want to hurt nobody. I wasn't a bad dude. And there's a lot of dudes languishing in prison like that, and there's a lot of dudes that just don't have the proper exposure, confidence, or know-how to try and turn it around and do something, and they think they can get away with it, and they end up in and out. They end up back in prison, and some of them is curtains for them, is game over.
Yeah, I know. Now, at least you made it worth it.
No question.
When I was sitting in the box, I was like, at least I made this worth it. Like hearing what other, especially in state prison, you're like, God damn, you're doing football numbers for that?
Right.
I'm like, at least what I did, I deserved it.
That's right.
Well, you went a long time, though. I mean, you were selling drugs from basically like 1988, 87, 88 in Queens all the way to 2011.
No. 204.
Okay. 2004?
Yeah, well, 205. I caught an indictment in 204, but I didn't stop selling drugs.
Oh, okay. Oh, you didn't?
No.
Explain that.
Because I was out on bond for 18 months.
Okay.
I was gearing up for trial. I got crazy stories. It's unbelievable. What happened? Crazy as hell.
Okay, let's talk about it. So 2005, what happened?
2004, I got indicted in West Virginia. Well, that was the beginning of the indictment. I went up there. I was bringing weed up there, and I just got careless. I never used to have talk on the phone, but on this one occasion I did. I had phones that wasn't in my name. I was getting high going up there, and I just talked too much. It was stupid. So I sent my girl up there. She bringing the weed like she always did, and she get up there, but she get up there before me. So my man called me. He's not my man no more. He snitched on me, ratted on me, one of the biggest rats in West Virginia. I ain't gonna call his name like I did last time. Shouldn't have done that. But, so he says, what you want me to do? I said, she's at the hotel just like last time. I said, she gonna pop the trunk, just get it out the trunk. That was what really was able to tie me into the case because they didn't know who I was. Nobody knew who I was. There wasn't no investigation on me. But he was selling coke at the same time too. And he was selling a lot of coke. I didn't know that. That's real talk. I just knew that I sold weed to him and a lot of it. Probably 320, 480 pounds or whatever, every 2 to 3 weeks, I bring it to him. So
Chronic?
I'm selling him Deps.
Yeah.
I'm selling him Chronic.
Yeah.
And at that time, they still took the bales.
Right.
So I'm selling them a lot of weed. I'm sending it also to Ohio. But I'm on my way to West Virginia on this occasion. So me saying that, thinking, oh, that phone ain't in my name, I'm not realizing this dude is under investigation and had been in an investigation for 24 months. He buying a lot of real estate out there. He owned over $2 million in real estate, but he's still hustling. But he in the coke game. They after him in the coke game, but he in small town West Virginia, in Charleston, West Virginia. I don't know nothing about this dude's background, but this dude is selling coke, he's selling weed, and he's in the real estate game. They on him like flies on shit. They want to get him. They investigate him for 24 months. I find this out later. They don't have no idea, nothing about me. Remember, I'm like a ghost. My name went on the radar or nothing. They really get to the closer end of the investigation. They got pole cameras on his stores. He owns stores. They follow him around. I don't know this. But this dude had already got caught in the early 90s. Cooperated against his best friend, gave his best friend a life sentence. I don't know none of this.
Wow.
I found this out after.
And now he's working. That's so up.
He gets up, dog. Yeah. So they hear me on the wire. They don't have my phone tapped, they have his. I'm on a phone that's not attached to my name, but it's in my hand. So now when I come up to West Virginia, they find me. They locate me because now they scramble, now they got a wire on this phone that doesn't have my name on it, but they're able to get this wire. You know, it's a pen register number. They're able to get that because that phone number, who doesn't have a name, because, you know, back then you just pay for it, you know, you pay for it. But his got a wire and it was talking to him, so they get a wire on that phone. So now they following him around. Eventually they start following me around. Make a long story short, they tapping everything that we say. At one point we realized, what's going on? We're being followed. So I say to him, yo, we got to get rid of these phones. We got to smash these phones. They on us. So that's all on the wire, dude. It's all on the wire. They got it. So when they catch up to me, we in one of his properties. He got a record store on the bottom and he got apartments on the top. So they on to him. They tell him, he has managers to call me and tell me, yo, they on me. They about to grab me. I don't know if they was at his house. I don't remember directly, but they was about to grab him. We in one of his apartments. He calls his homie, which was a good move, because underneath the building that he owned is like a garage. That's literally where the weed is that I had brought up there when I had told you that I told him, get it out the trunk. Gets it out the trunk, it goes to his store underneath. So they got him, well, they gonna get him. They on to him, he knows they on to him. He calls his boy, tells his boy to come there and get it. His boy comes around the back. We in the upstairs of the building, in the apartment that he owned, all of 5-0, they flooded on the whole block. They in the front. And it's me, my man that I drove up there with me, and the girl that brought it up there with me. They banging on the door. They know we in there. They banging on the door. Bang, 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 bang. We like, holy shit, what the f? You know what I'm saying? That's when he called me when I'm in the apartment. It's like, yo, you got to get rid of the phone. I'm like, yo, we got to get rid of him. We got to smash him. So they banging on the door. We don't open it. They like, yo, it's the police. Open up. Open up. I'm like, nah, I'm not opening up. Y'all got a warrant? Y'all got a warrant? They said, nah, look out of your window. Look out of the window. I run to the front. I look out the window. The whole block is flooded with police. These, this is unbelievable. This story is almost like, you can't make this shit up, but it's in the paperwork. Remember, I went to trial. So there ain't this is not like story written or script or like none of that. Exaggerations, this is how it happened. They all in the front. His dude who he called comes around the back. There's a pole camera. Comes around the back, goes in the back, gets all the motherfucking work and leaves out. Goes this way. I'm in the apartment. They say, look out the window. So they say, call 911. I call 911 and like, yo, I'm in this apartment. They don't have a warrant. I'm not opening the door. They say, open. Well, that's when they told me, look outside, sir. Look outside. I look outside. I see it's the cops because he doesn't have a peephole. So I can't see even though I know I'm scared, so many things is going on right now. It's crazy to me, but I can't see that it's the police. But then they say, they bang on the door again and she's telling me, open the door. DEA is at your door. So they say, open the door. Is DEA or we gonna kick it down? I open the door. So many things go through your mind. I had been in trouble before with local police. When I heard them letters DEA, so many things went through my mind because DEA was, back then, FBI, DEA, all that type of shit is mythical. It's not even real to you unless you get confronted with them. So you really thinking like, everybody's scared of the feds. You don't want to get indicted by a federal charge, federal indictment, all that type of shit. You really thinking they like a spook and like they following you around and they got microphone. Nah, they'll do that if they really like strong investigation like they was on him. But most of the time, like they never follow me around. They didn't know who I was. They do it with wiretaps and cooperation.
Yeah. And
So
just
I opened the door.
opportunity. It's usually just you, they're just following leads and shit.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
So we open the door. They go through all this shit. Remember, there's no flower downstairs. There's nothing. I'm acting down. Nothing. What are you up here for? Nothing. I'm not talking to you. They take the phone. They got the phone that was in my hand. They called that phone. So now they know, no matter what I say about it, this phone that's in my hand, that's attached to me now, it was the phone call that made that call to him that said, yo, just get it out the trunk, just like last time. So they know there was at least this time, and they know there was the last time. They know this. And so they don't indict me. Okay. They don't indict my friend, but they indict the girl. She was the girl that I said, yo, my girl's up there. They take her, they arrest her. They say, we're gonna let you guys go. Well, they didn't arrest us, but they took us down. They arrested her.
Right.
They took us down to wherever they took us, DEA headquarters, and they trying to get us to talk. That's what they're trying to do.
So how'd you get indicted?
I got indicted 18 months later.
Okay.
So what happened is they try and get Brandy, and it's crazy because sometimes the sisters or the females are stronger than the men. They tried to get Brandy to flip. She didn't flip. The other two dudes, Fred Tyson and Kevin Lee, they flipped on me. And once they had cooperating witnesses, so these dudes, they was looking to indict them for crack and coke. They didn't even know nothing about me. They didn't know I was coming. They didn't know it was weed. When they heard that phone call, they thinking that I'm bringing coke, which I wasn't. Once these dudes decided that they was gonna debrief and cooperate, they was able to get an indictment on me. She was in court because she had already got arrested, so she was able to tell me, yo, they coming to get you. And I'm like, well, actually, I got indicted 6 months later. She said, they coming to get you. What you mean they coming to get me? She said, yeah, they said it in open court. Because in open court, when they had whatever hearing they had, they said, who are these dudes in Atlanta? We want to know about the dude in Atlanta, which was me.
So are these your workers that, are these guys you giving work to that are telling on you?
These are the dudes, like I said earlier, I don't really classify them as workers. They classify them as workers.
No, but they know you. You've done business with them.
No question about it.
Got it. Okay.
I did business with the one dude, Fred Tyson. He gave the weed to all his other people. I knew his one other dude, Kevin Lee, but I didn't know none of the other people. But they ended up testifying against me. Dudes I never seen in my life. I didn't know him. The girl, Brandy Hamrick, she never broke. She went to trial with me. She was my co-defendant.
Wow. Okay, so it took 18 months though after that for them to get an indictment from grand jury.
I misspoke. They came and got me 6 months later.
Okay.
Then I was out on bond.
Okay.
So by the time that happened, it was 18 months later before I ended up going to trial and falling that trial in West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia. I went to trial. I fell on 2005, August 19th. I remember that day because that was the day of Katrina. That's when I fell. That's when they started the trial on a Monday.
About to be 20 years.
On Friday.
Oh, shit.
That's right. I did 6.5 years.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And you got sentenced to what, 12 and a half, right?
I got sentenced to 12 years, 7 months, 151 months. They gave me the low end of a guideline, which was 151 to 188. I got the low end because I had no history, but I got all the way up to 151 because even though I started, as you know, the guideline level, the federal level, the sentence of guidelines is on a grid. So I started at level 26, which was just 63 to 78 months. But then they gave me these enhancing factors, which they said leader, organizer, then they said money laundering in connection with a drug trafficking case. And then they said obstruction of justice because they said I testified at trial and I lied on the oath. So that brought me up to level 34, which was 151 to 181.
Did your attorney, like, why did you choose to take it to trial? I guess it's because they didn't have any work. Like, what did your attorney advise that?
He was an asshole. He advised it. He didn't know what the he was doing. He thought it was all good. The short of the long is my mother-in-law used to work for him. She didn't know. He was a good attorney, but only on the state. Yeah. State attorneys and federal attorneys ain't nothing. He wanted to get his federal practice up through me on my back. So he told me all type of just false shit that was like erroneous shit that was like, they don't have any drugs on it, you can beat that case. Oh, they never found any drugs. Oh yeah, I could beat it. He had a lot of experience beating cases, and he was a trial attorney. Dale Gallipo, he ain't no good. Listen, I'm actually over there. I ain't mad at Dale, but really I was at the time. He was actually really good on state level shit. He beat a lot of murder cases. He became known as the 3 strikes man. and he beat a lot of cases. But none of them cases that he beat was Fed cases. And the reason why I was angry with it, and it really still a little in my body to this day, because he didn't really take the time the way I see it to get to know the sentencing guidelines and instruct me on the way that he was supposed to instruct me. Mm-hmm. He was supposed to advise me that the government had a very strong case against me and that the likelihood of me winning or losing that trial, I would have lost. Because he's convincing me that they got a weak case because they never found any drugs. No, they got a strong case because it's a conspiracy and they got cooperating witnesses.
Right.
So he bust my head when I went to trial.
Right.
But I ended up getting out for that very reason.
Did they offer you a plea deal before you went to trial?
They offered me 5 years. And my local attorney, because I had a California attorney, which was nonsense.
Great deal for all the work you moved.
Yeah, I didn't know. You're right. I had some friends telling me.
Go hit golf balls, dude.
I should have.
Play with your.
That's right.
Sorry to bring that up.
No, listen. That's what you do when you're in prison. You know, you either gonna. I'm not
switch
gonna play
to the left.
I'm not gonna play with boys.
Get sick of the
so
right.
I'm gonna play with my.
Yeah, exactly.
Period. I'm gonna get some naked ladies to look
It's either that or a fat lady who works in the the prison kitchen.
Exactly.
It's always just a big fat gross. Usually a white lady.
Yeah. You had some good looking ones, and dudes end up getting shit behind them. They do what's called gunning. They have a string tied from their toe to their, and they're able to tap it when they're sitting there looking at them so they can masturbate themselves. But if you get caught doing that, you're getting shipped, you're getting locked up. But I didn't do that, but I learned that it existed.
Could you repeat that one more time just to make me laugh?
Yeah, so it's called gunning. Like there's a number of different ways you could be gunning, but gunning is if you're looking at a female walking across, dudes have been down for a long time, they might be jerking themselves off, but they come up with ingenious ways to masturbate themselves while they're looking at this woman that might just be walking towards the unit that they're in.
Right.
So they tie something to their toe, and then they tie it to their penis, and they're able to, they're able to masturbate themselves
with
while they're
the
gunning.
string? I don't get it.
Yeah, with some type of rubber contraption or whatever. I never did it.
So then you can do it and it doesn't look like you're jerking off.
They don't look like you're jerking off, because if she see you doing it and she want to be nasty, she could hit the buttons on you. They're going to come and lock it. People don't know you can get locked up while you locked up. But sometimes there was some good looking guards and people would do that. You ain't been out in a number of years. That type of shit, you know what I'm saying? You do different type of shit when you're in prison. I know you know, because you talked about it in some of your other interviews.
Gunning.
You turn into an animal when you.
Oh God, it's gonna make me cry with laughter.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was definitely something that an attorney should have told you. Like, because I've spoken to a lot of people that hate federal attorneys that just make you want to take a plea. They're like, those are in bed with the U.S. attorneys.
It's not true.
But like, a good attorney would have sat you down and been like, look, they offered you 5. It's their conviction rate is like 97%. We're moving a ton of weight.
That's right.
You should take it, because maybe you can get a year knocked off if you take a drug program plus some good time. And with 5, you probably wouldn't have even gone to a USP, right?
No question. I'm gonna break that down to you.
Yeah.
So like you said, a good attorney, literally a competent attorney. Mm-hmm. Under the professional norms of the standards of a professional attorney set by the American Bar Association, has to tell you the strength and the weakness of your case and what is the likelihood of success if you proceed to trial. He has to. A competent attorney has to advise you on that. And that wound up becoming the basis of how I got out of prison. I defended myself and got out of prison after I went to trial, lost a trial, went through the appeal process and lost and all of that. I had local attorney, because when you're in another district, you have to hire local attorney, and he ad hocs in the out-of-state attorney, which was in West Virginia. I had to bring in this attorney from California, so I had to have local attorney, Troy Gatchis, and I respect him. At the time, I had all that nonsense in my head thinking, oh yeah, they got a weak case, and that's why he's telling me that he's really working with the Fed. No. He was trying to save my ass. He said, think about your family.
Yeah.
You got a family, and Sam Marsh is making you an offer of 5 years.
Yeah.
He said, my advice to you is that you should take it. And I should have took it.
Right.
I didn't know.
Right.
But once again, not only did I not get the advice on the strength or the weakness of my case, he didn't properly advise me on the enhancements that they could put on me to stretch me out, that they were going to punish my ass for going to trial, for wasting their time and resources, that they were going to punish me and give me as much time as that they could, that they were going to add escalators on that. He didn't break down that.
Right.
Although I started at a 26, I could have got 2 points for safety valve because it was my first time.
Right.
Having a guilty, I'd have got 3 points for acceptance responsibility. Now I'm down to 21.
Yep.
Then I could have got the drug program. I probably might have did 21 months, maybe less. This guy didn't explain that to me.
Right.
So he failed. And because you have the right to an attorney, Sixth Amendment right, people hear that.
Yeah.
But what they don't know, what they don't tell you, and what they should, especially for all of our men, brothers and sisters out there, you don't just have the right to an attorney. You have the right, a legal right, constitutional right to an effective assistance of counsel. And that is measured by the norms of the professional standard for all attorneys, which is set by the American Bar Association. And that's why they started calling me Obama, because of my constitutional prowess, which ended up getting me out of prison later on.
Wow. So is it pretty easy to prove? Because when you're having these private conversations with your attorney, they're not written down. It's not like there's a stenographer like when you're in court writing down everything you say. So how do you prove that to an appeals court that, hey, you got to take my word for it, this guy didn't tell me that they had a strong case. He didn't advise me on all of these enhancements, et cetera. Yeah. Is that easy, difficult to prove? Like, what's the key to winning on an ineffective counsel appeal?
It's damn near impossible. It's one of the hardest things that you could do. It's one of the most unlikely scenarios that you could imagine in your mind. Is next to the most improbable series of events that you would ever imagine, especially in federal court, especially when after you've lost in trial by a jury of your peers. Because what I learned when I was in there educating myself is Clinton brought this to an end. It's like and this my mind up too and stretched it in a different direction, that it's not necessarily in the interest of justice that they have. It's in the interest of finality. So when you lose after a trial by a jury of your peers, judges do not want to overturn it. They want to keep your ass in there because they say the jury has spoken. But I was able to win on a 2255. I've been told when I was on Matt Cox's podcast, he says it's one, I don't know the exact statistic, but he said it's 1 out of every 3,500 that wins, that gets any type of relief. And to actually win and get all the convictions overturned, that's why they call me Obama. I did that shit for
Well, you
real.
didn't get your conviction overturned. You got your sentence reduced.
No, that's what I'm telling you. I got all my convictions overturned and thrown out. And they set me back into the same place that I was. I could have went back to trial. It was as if it had never happened. I went on a 2255 ineffective assistance to counsel release on a habeas corpus, which literally translates to free the body or release the body. And I did that after losing a trial. It took 6 years, 4 months, and 2 days, but it happened. I walked out of federal court on an immediate release.
That is incredible. I didn't realize that when you had contacted me. I thought you just got a big time cut. No, you got your whole sentence wiped, your whole case tossed.
I got it tossed. I ended up pleading guilty to a lesser charge because I was the charge that I pled guilty to was 60 months, and I had already did 6 years, 4 months, and 2 days. So I said, and I got an immediate release. However, I had already been locked up. I wanted to get home. It was right before Christmas.
Yeah.
They came to me, I won. They brought me back to West Virginia on an evidentiary hearing. And, I argued back and forth with the lawyer that they appointed because at that point in time, I already knew all this through doing my research. He didn't even believe the way that I was going to argue it, because the way that I argue it was, and this is what I learned when I went to federal prison. I met a dude named Jack Cater. And I went into the law library and I met him. He was an older black man from Alabama. And he had been down since 1987. And he said, I was in the law library. He said, you see this in here? He said, those books up there, all in here? He said, they got a key on them. The books that say LED, Lawyer's Edition. He said, every case has a flaw. And he said, all these books, out of one of them, there's going to be a case. That's going to be the key to getting you out of prison. He said, but you just got to find that flaw, and you got to find that case. So I went to work because I wanted to get out, and I wanted to get back to my children and my family as much as I wanted to breathe. Wow. So I set to going to work.
So you're arguing in yourself when you're in the appeals court?
When I get back, not appeals court. So I lost on an appeal. With another thing a lot of people don't know. And I know this legal shit will lose some people. So I probably need to start getting on some legal podcast because they like, man, Obama going in with the legal analogies and everything, because I love it, because one of my proudest moments. I know how hard it is. So I'm going back and forth. So you have a right to a direct appeal. I exhausted my right to a direct appeal. I went to Supreme Court. I applied for a writ of certiorari. I didn't get that. They turned me down. So at this point, it's over with. Unless you could prove something of constitutional magnitude, that somehow one of your constitutional rights was violated. In my case, it was the Sixth Amendment right to an attorney.
Right.
I found something and I realized if I didn't have competent counsel, that's the only way that you can get out on a 2255, which is a habeas corpus, which is a Latin term, which is half civil and half criminal. It emanates from London. So I was able to find something that said a lawyer cannot and shall not suborn perjury. The subordination of perjury says that if an attorney knowingly or should have known that the testimony he put before the stand under oath was going to be false, he cannot put it before, he cannot put you on the stand, he cannot participate in that. What he would have had to do is say, Your Honor, I cannot question my client right here. I've advised him against testifying on his own behalf, although we have the right, an attorney can advise you against that. You as a client, even though you're not the master of your defense, you can, so people think you're the master of your own defense, you're not, your attorney is, but you can insist that you're gonna testify. So he was supposed to tell the judge, I can't put him on before the stand. Then the judge would have probably said, okay, let me have come to the branch, we're gonna have a sidebar, and then he would have told him, I can't do it. Then he would have had to put me up there in a narrative form and let me just tell you, can't ask me questions, you can't participate in that. He didn't do that. As a matter of fact, he participated with me.
Okay. So you testified at your trial.
At my trial.
Okay.
Yes,
so so there's your proof right there. And your attorney did not raise up his hand and say, wait a minute, Your Honor, I didn't advise him to do this. Let's talk it out. There was none of that.
He participated in it.
Right, exactly.
We schemed it out together.
Right. So that was right there. That's your physical proof to the judge when you go back that your constitutional right was violated.
That's right, because I put him in a trick box. It was not that he knew. I asserted that he did know. But in my briefs, I said, Your Honor, he knew. But even if he didn't know, the law says if he should have known. It's knew or should have known. So I knew I had him because the judge had already said, when he sentenced me, Mr. Gerald, I believe in the system. And the system operates with witnesses telling the truth. And I believe you lied here in front of me and your story was incredulous. So I flipped it on him. I said, Your Honor, you knew I was lying. The jury knew I was lying. And Your Honor, my attorney knew I was lying, which he did. We crafted out this whole crazy ass harebrained story about what was in the boxes because they never found the boxes.
So ironically, you trapped your lawyer into helping you lie, which you then used as proof to get your case tossed.
Right, but I don't want to say I trapped him.
Yeah, you didn't do it on purpose, but that is what led you to getting out. 100%. Getting your whole case tossed was proving right there that your attorney helped you lie.
Exactly. Wow. He was supposed to tell me, are you crazy?
Yeah.
I'm not, this story's ridiculous.
Right, you're not allowed to, I can't help you. I can't help you be found not guilty. I can only take what I have within the law.
That's right.
To prove a reasonable doubt. To prove a reasonable doubt.
That's it.
Right.
He met with me in secret and my co-defendant, Brandy, who I told you went to trial with me, a soldier. They tried to offer her a deal. That's why I tell you, some people are so stand up. You know what she said? She told me this years later. She said they put pressure on me. They told me I could have came home right away. I didn't have to do a day. All I had to do was give them you. She said I contemplated suicide before I told on you. That's why I call her Sister Soldier. Yeah. However, he met with her. Me, her, and him used to meet in secret. Unbeknownst to her attorney, she had representation to concoct this crazy lie that what was in the boxes.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that as an attorney. So right now, I mean, you could probably get disbarred if they wanted to like pursue him. Yeah, you could get at least a strike against him.
Yeah, he got undressed. He won't be able to practice. The judge undressed him when I won. They undressed him in front of the courtroom, basically.
Okay, so he had to be there.
Well, so heck yeah, that's what I knew also. Well, once I got the evidentiary hearing 6 years later, 4 months later, I went back and forth. The government at that point, they hate you. They don't want you to get out, even, which I don't understand that. They knew I was telling the truth. The way I crafted this brief, they knew it was true. Even though they wanted me to stay in prison, they knew it was true because it was the truth. And so
you were telling the truth about lying with your attorney.
That's the funny part about it, because I went back and forth. They say all of this in their briefs. So I do my briefs, say, yo, I'm supposed to get back in on the 2255 motion because I'm being held illegally because I didn't have my Sixth Amendment right. So we go through all of that. Boom. They come back. Basically, the short of it, you're lying, you're a drug dealer, this is ridiculous. So it's a magistrate judge at this point. The magistrate judge is the judge that is the buffer between the federal, my district court judge is who I went to trial with and who sentenced me. So it got to go in front of her first. Then she makes a report and recommendation or a findings and recommendation. Each jurisdiction is different, but in this jurisdiction it's called an F&R, finding and recommendation. So our finding and recommendation, after, we're going back and forth with the government gives their response, then I give my reply, then they basically say, Elon, you got to dismiss it, this is a joke. Don't even bring him back up there. You hear what the lawyer says. The lawyer's like, this guy's a liar, basically, because now he becomes a witness for the government. So my lawyer is like, this guy's a liar. You know, he's lying. I never met with him. I never did any of this. This is a joke. Because in my briefs, I spell it out. This guy met with me. We were lying. You know what I mean? I would have never told the story, blah, blah, blah. He's like, this guy's a liar. The judge is like, this is an upstanding lawyer, blah, blah, blah. He says Mr. Travolta's lying. So it goes through all of that. Then it goes to the magistrate judge got to come back with her F&R, finding a recommendation. She comes back. She basically says, yo, this doesn't make any sense. My finding recommendation is that we dismiss it without merit. I have one last response, a rebuttal to the finding and recommendation of the Magistrate Judge Stanley, who worked for David Faber, who was appointed by Bush 1 in the early 90s. So I do one last rebuttal to her, I get the last say. I spell it out, unbelievable terms. I looked through every case imaginable. I know who appointed him, like I just told you, I know who appointed her. I went through every case that she had over like 20-some years. I never found any case where her finding and recommendation was one thing and the judge didn't go along with whatever her finding recommendation is because it's a buffer. Remember, I never seen it. Hundreds of cases that I looked at that she had is normally just like a rubber stamp. But this time it was different. So after all that was done, the rebuttal to her finding recommendation, her objection to her saying that it should be dismissed without merit, 10 months of waiting, and I'm at mail call one day, mail call! You already know what it is. I see that orange envelope. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. I already know what it is. I already know one shot, one kill. If they bring me back for an evidentiary hearing, then it's a credibility determination. That's what an evidentiary hearing is. Now, if they bring me back, I'm going back just for whether or not they believe me. If they believe me, I'm going home. If they don't believe me, then there's no more tricks to getting out. It's over with. The moment of truth, man. My hand is shaking. I see the orange envelope. I'm damn near scared to open it. I can't even open it because I know if it says denied, it's over with. I'm going to do the rest of the time. I ain't getting out until July 16, 2016. So I open it. It says you've been remanded back to the Southern District of West Virginia in Charleston in front of Magistrate Judge Mary Stanley for an evidentiary hearing.
What facility are you at this time?
I had worked my way down to a camp. I'm at Maxwell Prison Camp in Montgomery, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
I know. I fear that if I get back, I'm going home. One shot, one kill. I had trained for this for like 5 years. Remember, everything I learned going back to when I was in high school and college, debate, mock trial, gave me the confidence to know when I got in prison. And then when Jack Cater told me I had been working every single day, that's why they gave me the name Obama when I was in there. I'm working at the law library. I'm there on Saturdays. I'm there when it opens up. I'm there until it closes. I'm not playing. I'm not gambling. I'm not smoking weed in prison. I'm not drinking hooch. I got one singular focus like a laser. And that's to find that key in them books so that I can open up them prison doors. And ultimately, I ended up doing it. And I knew that if I got this evidentiary hearing now, I got the power, I got all type of powers. I knew that they're going to appoint me an attorney. They have to. Even though I wrote my own briefs, I know that they're going to have an attorney with you that you can now, I can call, I can cooperate with, and I had the power of subpoena. So now I was able to get the other witnesses, Brandy, who was willing to come and help. My mother-in-law, who was willing to come and help. Brandy's attorney, David Schlesch, who was very instrumental in helping out. I love that man. He was a court-appointed attorney in the federal system in West Virginia at that time for 30 years, and I was able to subpoena Dale Galipo. I was able to subpoena him. They didn't make him come up there, but he was on his closed circuit because he was in California.
That's your lawyer.
I was a lawyer,
former lawyer. That's right. So, and then so you go before the magistrate.
That's right.
And then you basically, is it another trial or is it just?
It's a hearing. There's no jury there.
Yeah, but it's kind of like another trial.
That's right.
Right.
That's
Wow.
Right. All of these players that I just talked about are there.
And your big kind of piece of evidence to show that he was in on it was the fact that he didn't say anything during trial when you said, Your Honor, I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to, the fact that he didn't even speak up and say, Your Honor, I realize that we're not supposed to really let him do this.
That's right.
And they just believed you, basically.
Well, yeah, they didn't just believe me. Yes, they did believe me, but they believed me because it was true. I had Brandy Hamrick. I had my mother-in-law come.
Oh, because they were in on it too.
They were in on it too.
They knew about his.
They had been involved in conversations. So
wow.
so this is the kicker. Even though there's nothing written, and it's his word up against my mother-in-law, okay, she could be biased. His word up against my co-defendant, Brandy, she could be biased. Me and Brandy both got enhancements for lying because she testified on the oath also. But what it was Brandy's lawyer, David Schlesch, who was from West Virginia, who had been a court-appointed attorney in that courtroom for over 30 years. And Brandy testified that, remember, she had him before I even got indicted. And she testified that she was going to like take a plea at first until I got indicted, and then I knew her. She used to be my girlfriend at one time, just to be honest with you. So she wasn't at the time when we were doing whatever we were doing. She really wasn't. We were just friends, and she was driving for me, and we just became good friends. That's why she didn't testify against me. But she testified that she met with us in secret. And then she testified that her attorney said, Randy, what are you doing? You know, what happened to you? Who's putting this in your head? And then he testified to bring it all home. He said he remembered that. And he said he knew something was funny, and he said he didn't like it at the time. And he said something happened as soon as I got indicted and had my attorney. He said he knew that there was something that was up. And he even asked her, Brandy, you're acting like a child. What are you talking about? He told her, if you go to trial, because she told him about this story, our harebrained scheme that we came up with. And he told her, Brandy, if you go to trial and you tell this story, they're going to find you guilty and you're going to prison for a long time.
Now, what we should know before you tell us, before we wrap up, is what was the story that you, Brandy, and your lawyer concocted during trial? What was this big lie that you were going to tell the jury?
Is that what was in the boxes that was never found was bootleg CDs, because they had a pole camera. So they saw the guy that came bringing boxes out and loading it into his car. But that was at a time where, because remember, he owned this building with the apartments on the top, but on the bottom, it was a record store.
Yeah.
And he made crazy money in reality
Right.
on bootleg CDs. And this was at a time that they were cracking down on bootleg CDs. So that's the idea. That's the harebrained scheme that we came up with.
Right.
Because they never recovered the boxes.
God damn, how it's so f***ed up. How could they don't have enough proof that there was weed in there?
Well,
I guess the witnesses, right?
testifying
That's
witnesses.
right.
When you have a testifying
that's
witness,
a roll of the
evidence.
dice, right? Like, yeah, that could go either way. The jury's there, like, I don't know. They're probably drug dealers. Like
100%.
that's literally, but it's just not enough evidence in my opinion. But
Mine too.
that's the feds though, right? So, okay. So, and your lawyer was directing this lie.
That's right.
This scheme.
That's right.
Okay. Wow. So the dagger after bringing Brandy, your mother-in-law, the nail in the coffin was this court-appointed federal attorney, Brandy's attorney, who corroborated everything that they all said.
There you
Okay.
go.
Wow.
That was it.
That's brilliant. That's a fascinating piece of lawyering.
No doubt.
That's
and I'm proud of it. It was
It's
considered
exciting.
a case of first impression. They say it sits on all fours. These are legal terms. And the magistrate judge at the time, after the whole thing is over, we in there, the marshals are there, it's just me, the witnesses that I told you about, the two lawyers and everything, and the government is still trying to argue their stance. Judge Mary Stanley said, hold on, just please, sit down, have a seat. She said, I listened to all the testimonies. I heard from all the witnesses. And she said, there's nothing that I heard in anybody's testimony that leads me to believe that Mr. Geralt has not been telling the truth today, here. When she said that, I knew I was going home, because remember, it's a credibility determination.
Yeah.
That being the case, they have to start back at the plea bargaining stage, which means they had to overturn all the convictions. They had to put me back as if I never went to trial before.
So they could have charged you again.
They could have charged me with
There's no way they would do it.
Right.
But they could go back and be like, okay, case is tossed. We could go all the way. I don't know though. Would the statutes have run out by then?
There's no statute of limitation or something like that, just because I had already been charged. And I don't know. To this day, I wish I would have. I don't know what I wish I would have did. But I think about, what if I didn't plea out to a lesser charge, and they had to take me back to trial again?
There's no way even a U.S. attorney would want to do that.
Right.
Nobody wants to retry old cases that they just got tossed. The original one just got tossed.
Right.
So that's why they come at you with a plea. Like, let's just give me something.
That's right.
Let me not look like stupid in front of my boss.
That's right.
And then you get to walk today.
That's
so they came at you with that. What was the plea agreement?
Well, at first it was 5 years probation, immediate release and 5 years probation. They had me home before Christmas. I told my lawyer, nah, you heard what the judge, he said. So I said, nah, I'm not doing that. So he kind of got angry. He's like, what do you mean? Are you crazy? He said, the judge is about to go on like sabbatical or some shit, and he's going to leave, and you don't want to piss him off. I said, listen, in all due respect, I said, I heard what Miss Judge Mary Stanley said. I said, I just did 6 years and 4 months. I could do a little bit, a couple more days, a couple more weeks, a couple more months on the toilet. I'm not doing that. He said, why? I didn't want to take 5 years probation.
Yeah, of course.
I said, so then he came back, and he came back with 1 year, like low-level probation. When he asked me, I said, I might want to smoke weed. He said, well, you shouldn't be smoking weed. I said, it's not the point. I might want to. So eventually he came back. This is all in the same day.
Yeah.
Came back and was like, yeah, they're willing to do it for 1 year, low level. You don't have to go every time, you know.
And what was your plea? What crime did you plead to?
Interfering in interstate commerce, which carried a maximum of 60 months. And then they just gave me 1 year low level supervised release is what they call it in the feds.
Right.
Now they was able to get me home before Christmas. That was
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man.
And I'm here talking to you, my guy.
Yeah. Holy shit. What an odyssey. What an odyssey. So what have you, man, it makes me want to be a lawyer. I've wasted my life, dude. That's, but it's.
No, you didn't waste your life because you're doing big things now and you're reaching the masses. You might even be doing more than what you was able to do as a lawyer because of this new age of social media and being able to reach so many people. So like life in my mind is about having an impact and you're able to have a tremendous impact. You bring somebody like me on here and I'm able to share my story, maybe to have an impact on others because what I'm doing now pales in comparison to what I was doing before when I was in the streets. Right. You know, I'm from the streets to the suites.
Right.
So I went from doing community outreach with the United States Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Georgia with the director of the community outreach to doing real estate investments and becoming like flipping houses and building houses like I was flipping pounds to doing my podcast at In and Out Podcast, you already know, at INNOUTWW, where I have people on that have been freed from some form of prison. Wow. Many of them have been freed from a physical prison, but many of them have overcome the adversity and the hardship of overcoming substance abuse or mental health or in and out of different type of bad relationships. So this is gives me the ability to be able to do and make an impact on others, to let people know just because you make a mistake in your life, that should not define you. The book is not over. The story's still unfolding. I'm still writing chapters to my book. I do branding for Uma Sonoma, which is a legal cultivation cannabis company in Northern California. Blue Lobster, that's what I got because it's gonna be one of the best strains in the world. And I'm not gonna say it now because I'm not at leeway to say it, but they just signed a huge deal. You're gonna be hearing more about Uma, but they're gonna be cultivators for what's gonna be one of the largest cannabis brands in the world. It's gonna be a global play. And I just always thought, once I did the real estate, which I'm still doing, I'm doing the In and Out podcast, which I need everybody to check me out at my YouTube page. I need you to, press that subscribe button, you already know. But I said, cannabis, it gave me a lot in my life and I learned a lot, but I got a lot of pain through cannabis, I did time in prison. I was separated away from my family for years. And nobody knows what that's like unless you go through it. Because we remember the day we go in and the day we come out, 2 days. But the people that love you the most, the people that relied on you and depend on you, they remember every day in between. And I said, there's no way in hell that I'm not gonna be able to benefit and profit from the legal cannabis game. So,
that's awesome, man.
That's my life.
Yeah. That's a lot of living. Holy shit.
I'm still living, baby.
Yeah, of course. So check out In and Out Podcast.
In and Out Podcast.
In and Out Podcast.
INNOUTWW.
Yeah.
Or, if you can't find it that way, In and Out Podcast by Eric G. And it's going to come up.
Yeah. Okay. So you got it. And there'll be a link to that in the description. We're going to give you a nice plug up top. And hopefully Blue Lobster gets the rollout soon. I mean, that's a crazy good brand, dude. No doubt.
One more thing, Johnny, because I watched you on Vlad. I know you and Vlad were talking about there's a lot of exchanges and favors, and you do somebody's podcast, they do yours. If you're ever in Atlanta, or even if you're not, we'll come to you. I'd love to have you on as a guest on
please.
In and Out Podcast. You have an amazing story. I watch your stories. I watch all of the people that you have on your podcast, and you're the #1 podcaster out there as far as I'm concerned and what you're doing. And I want to get you on as a guest on In and Out Podcast.
Say less. I love doing other people's podcasts.
Awesome.
I have to hear other people's stories. I'd like to talk about me once in a while.
Let's talk about you. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, bro. We'll come out to Atlanta, man. That's easy, bro. That's easy. If you got anybody out there you think that's good for me to interview, you're the first Atlanta cat. Well, you're a New York cat, but you're really like an Atlanta dude. There's a lot of stories out of there. So, maybe we'll come out there and we'll hit the road and come out and see you, man.
That would be awesome. I appreciate that. I got a lot of people in Atlanta. I got people in Miami, Cali, New York. I got people all over. That's real shit. Milwaukee. That have some of the fascinating stories, and I know that would be perfect for your platform. And they're all doing big things right now.
Big E with the In and Out Podcast. Go check it out. Go follow him on socials. Very, very, just an incredible interview. Everybody's got a good story, but you really told it. You brought it. You brought the heat. So please go check out the In and Out podcast. Link will be in the description. We will see you guys later. You just heard the saga of Eric Geralt. Big E. Thanks, guys.
No doubt. I appreciate you, my friend.